Good afternoon. It is now 6 o'clock, and we will begin our afternoon agenda. Good afternoon, everybody that's here. We want to welcome you to the County Commission meeting. And I believe our next agenda item is number 27. Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 27 is your first and only public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 10 of the Leon County Code of Laws to correct scrivener's errors and inadvertent inconsistencies. I've got no speakers on this item. We are recommending option 1.
Is there a motion for option 1?
I move.
Motion been made by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Welch. Any objection? Showing none, seeing none, short is approved unanimously. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 28, Commissioners, is your first of 2 public hearings to consider an ordinance amending the Lake Protection Zoning District. This item, again, the proposal before you would avoid potential litigation over the Summerfield Land LLC notice of claim under Burt Harris Private Property Protection Act by correcting the Lake Protection Cluster subdivision requirements that inadvertently impacted the development. We're recommending option 1, and we have no speakers on this item.
Is there a motion for option 1? Motion been made by Commissioner Welch. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner O'Keefe. Any objection? Seeing none, short is passed unanimously. Item number 29, Mr. Administrator.
One moment, please.
Item number 29 is the first and only public hearing on the adoption of the annual update to the Tallahassee-Leon County Comprehensive Plan Capital Improvement Schedule.
We have no speakers on this item, and we're recommending option 1.
Is there a motion? Option 1 has been moved by Commissioner Myers. Is there a second?
I second, Mr.
Seconded
Chair.
by Vice Chair. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved. Move now to item number 30.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 30 is your first and only public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map on a 1.01 acre parcel at the corner of on the northeast corner of the intersection of Tram Road and Zyla Street. Again, this item, we have no speakers on this item. We are recommending option 1.
Option 1, is there a motion?
I move option 1, Mr.
Moved
Chair.
by the Vice Chair. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner O'Keefe. Any objection? Seeing none, show it as approved unanimously.
Mr. Chair, may I say something in reference to this particular item?
Absolutely.
I just want to, Mr. Chair, commend the Capital City Garden Club for this designation to the local register of historic places. And I just want to ask, are there any members here from the Garden Club, the Capital City Garden Club? Awesome, awesome. And I just thank you so much for being present. I want to acknowledge the president, Ms. Linda Inge. Okay, Ms. Inge is here, and the other members. The Garden Club is a beautiful structure, Mr. Chair, and they share that structure with the community. They allow the community to use it. I think it's awesome. I also want to mention Miss Maddie Mobley, who is over 100 years old, still living, and it was under her presidency and under her leadership, I believe, that they purchased and renovated that particular building that now sits as the Garden Club. So I just commend you all and congratulate you for having achieved that distinction as it being one of the historic places in Leon County. So thank you for being here. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I had the distinct honor of presenting a proclamation to that Garden Club a week ago, I believe it was. Enjoyed my time there, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor, and we look forward to everything you're going to do in the future for our community. Thank you so much. Mr. Administrator, next item. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this Madam Attorney?
No, I'll start it off, and I'll
Okay.
hand it off to the county attorney. Just a moment, Mr. Chairman. Item number 31, Commissioners, is your first and only public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the official zoning map to change the zoning classification from residential acre, RA, zoning district to single-family detached, R2 zoning district for 32.18 acres located at 3762 Capitol Circle Northwest. This item requests the board conduct the first and only quasi-judicial public hearing to consider adopting a proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map. The Northwoods Baptist Church initially requested a rezoning on the 32.18 acre portion of its property to R3, so that the entire 85.31 acre parcel would have the same zoning and would allow low density residential development up to 8 units per acre. The application before you this evening seeks rezoning to R2, which is a lower density residential zoning district that allows up to 4.84 units per acre. At its June 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the Commission approved the initial request for the higher density R3, consistent with the comp plan and recommended approvals. The R2 does not allow any additional uses and has a lower density than R3. An additional public hearing with the Planning Commission is therefore not required. In a few minutes, our Planning Director, Artie White, will provide the board with a presentation on the rezoning request. But first, I'd like to hand it off to our County Attorney for guidance on the quasi-judicial public hearing process.
Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, the Commissioners are required to disclose ex parte communications regarding this agenda item. For those in attendance, ex parte communications are verbal or written communications made to a member of the public on a matter to come before the board by or on behalf of a party outside of a board meeting and without notice to the other parties. For this agenda item, ex parte communications received and disclosed as of noon on February 13th were included as attachment 7 to this agenda item in the agenda package. Additional ex parte communications received by the County Attorney's Office by today at noon have been disclosed and made a part of the hearing record as supplemental attachment number 8 for this agenda package. Commissioners, do any of you need to now disclose any previously undisclosed ex parte communications regarding today's hearing on the record?
Madam Attorney, I received an email at 1:48 today from Linda and Carl Tinsley expressing opposition to the Northwood Church rezoning. I also received an email at 2:02 today from Tim Glenn expressing opposition to the Northwood Church rezoning. I have Commissioner Caban and Commissioner Minor in queue. Commissioner Caban.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier today, after the cutoff, Gary Zern called me today before the meeting to share that this vote highly affects him. He asked if I'd be willing to meet with Mr. Willie Meggs during our break, and I agreed to meet with Mr. Willie Meggs during our break earlier today. I went with Mr. Willie Meggs and Mr. Tim Glenn during our intermission, and they have both expressed their opposition to this rezoning proposal. Thank you.
Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to read through some emails I've received after the 12 noon cutoff date for today. One is from Nikki LeBeau at 1 p.m. who expressed concern.
Commissioner Minor, give me a second. Does he have to disclose or read the emails?
It has to disclose who it's from, when the communication occurred, and the general nature and gist of the communication.
If you'd like to read the whole thing, that's totally fine. If you want to sum it up, that's fine too.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to read the whole email. I'm just going to try to get the gist of each one. I think that'll probably be sufficient.
Sounds good.
County Attorney. All right, so Nikki LeBeau, 1 p.m. today, expressing concern about the Commission's upcoming decision to approve further development in the area. From Linda and Carl Tinsley at 1:48 p.m. today, expressing opposition to the rezoning. From Mr. Tim Glenn at 2:01 p.m. today, the title of this email is 57 Reasons to Deny Rezoning of Property at Northwoods Church, and he expresses an urge to have us vote no, our option 2. At another email from Mr. Tim Glenn at 2:44 p.m. today, who is sending a video with a video link with a script on a position against the rezoning. Also, at 3:33 p.m. today, from Ms. Pat Swartz, I wanted to remind you, basically it's an email to her neighbors, reminding them about the public hearing tonight and expressing opposition to the rezoning efforts. And then I was handed a hard copy of materials from Mr. Tim Glenn, mainly talking about the small portion of property on the southern border of the property in question, the zoning request property that is designated as RA, and discussed how that was not included in the original Planning Commission written agenda materials in June of 2022. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes the emails and
Thank you,
materials.
sir. Commissioner O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, on February 21st at 1:48 p.m., received an email from Linda and Carl Tinsley expressing their opposition to rezoning. At 2:01 p.m. on the 21st, I received an email from Mr. Tim Glenn expressing opposition with 57 reasons to deny on the subject. And at 2:44 p.m. from Mr. Tim Glenn on February 21st, a transcript of a video opposing. That's all I have. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chair. After 5 o'clock this afternoon, when we broke for lunch, I was advised by my chief of staff that I had received several emails regarding this particular agenda item. I have not seen the emails, nor have I read the emails, but my chief of staff will be giving those, or he might have already given those to Madam Clerk.
Is that sufficient? Madam Attorney?
Yes, are there any more disclosures?
Commissioner Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I received the same two emails as others. 148 from Linda and Carl Tinsley in opposition, and 201 from Tim Glenn in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Thank you, Commissioners. Quasi-judicial hearings require due process, must comport with the essential requirements of law, means consideration of the correct criteria, and the decision of the board must be supported by competent, substantial evidence placed on the record before the board. Competent, substantial evidence is defined as that which is sufficiently relevant and material that a reasonable mind would accept it as adequate to support the conclusion reached. So evidence relied on must be fact-based, real, material, pertinent, and relevant. If the board denies the rezoning request, such denial must include a determination on the record that maintaining existing conditions further a legitimate public purpose. As a reminder, the deadline for the submission of documentary evidence for the board's consideration expired at noon last Friday. Accordingly, pursuant to Section 10-6.205, subsection 7 of the Leon County Code of Laws, the board cannot consider any documentary evidence received after the deadline. Documentary evidence is defined in the code as evidence in a physical or digital form, including but not limited to expert reports, photographs, documents, affidavits, memoranda, graphs or charts, maps, aerial photographs, and surveys. The documentary evidence received in ex parte communications after the deadline have been included in the hearing record for disclosure purposes, but untimely documentary evidence cannot be considered by the board when weighing the evidence during this hearing. So going forward in this proceeding, the Riverwood Acres neighborhood and residents of Flat and Maddox Roads have requested and been granted party intervener status for this hearing. Mr. Meggs has been designated to serve as a spokesperson for the group, and we will be provided the same amount of time as staff and the applicant to present to the board. The board, staff, the applicant, and the party intervener spokesperson have been provided the order of presentation for the hearing. Mr. Chairman, the presentation of testimony is next in the order of presentation.
All right. So just to give you guys an indication where we are right now, Madam Attorney, I believe each one of those three would be given 20 minutes to speak, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So that is in fact 60 minutes right there. And then we have 58 speakers, all given 3 minutes. That's another 3 hours. So we're here for 4 hours. Settle in. If When it comes your turn to speak, you want to wave in support. I've seen that done. We'll take that. But if you want to take every bit of your 3 minutes, you take every bit of your 3 minutes. We're going to sit here until we get this figured out. As well as the folks who are representing to get the 20 minutes, you can take as much time as you like or as little time as you like. But my point here is that we're going to sit here until everybody says what they need to say and we get through this issue the way we need to get through it. But if you're one of those 58 speakers, you want to wave in support or in opposition, you're more than welcome to do that. And for the speakers, I believe there's a cross-examination piece there too if they want to do it. If you want to take that full 20 minutes, take it. If not, then I believe they only get that one opportunity to take it, correct?
The 20 minutes, they can reserve part of that time for rebuttal. If they want cross-examination, they get 5 minutes.
Okay. All
You must
right.
request it.
All right. I will tell you this is the first time that I've seen this piece where there was actually rebuttals and that kind of thing. But I'll lean on the attorney a little bit and we'll work our way through it. All right, now we start with the presentation. I believe first we start with staff, correct? Artie? Oh, while he's coming up, what I do ask, I don't even ask it, I demand it. We will be polite to one another. We will be polite to one another. We don't have to agree. We don't all have to think the same things, but what we do have to do within this chamber is keep decorum. So we will be polite and we will be cordial in the way we agree or disagree while we're taking up this issue. Everybody good on that? We good on that? All right, thank you. Artie.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. As the County Administrator introduced, this is the first and only public hearing to consider the rezoning of 31.18 acres located at Capitol Circle Northwest at 3762 Capitol Circle Northwest. In the next couple of minutes, my presentation will go over a couple of things. We'll address what the requested rezoning is, where we are in the overall land development process and kind of what the next steps would be, the rezoning criteria that have to be considered when we look at something like this, what the public notification and responses were, and ultimately what the recommended action is. Jumping right into it, the requested rezoning, as you can see on this map, is the parcel that's highlighted. The request is to go from residential acre, or RA, to single-family detached residential, also known as R2. The primary difference between the two, RA allows 1 unit per acre single-family detached housing. R2 allows up to 4.84 units per acre, also single-family detached housing. When we look at the uses that are permitted in the two different zoning districts, there's only minor variations between the two. In fact, R2 has fewer allowed uses than RA. Again, the primary difference is the density. So RA is 1 unit per acre, single-family detached housing. R2 is up to, at a maximum of 4.84 units per acre, single-family detached housing. It's important to note kind of where we are in the overall land development process. And many of you will probably remember this slide from the workshop on the land development process that this board had a couple of months ago. The rezoning process is still at the broader level planning stage of things. This is where we kind of look at what would be the specific uses allowed, the previous slide, and what are the specific densities that would be allowed if the rezoning is approved. In terms of the overall land development process, the idea, concept, that's low density, single family housing. The comprehensive plan phase, this property already had the suburban land use category. There's no change to the future land use map designation in the comprehensive plan requested. This is just going straight to the rezoning phase. A future phase, the next phase would be the site plan or subdivision phase. And that's where we get into a more detailed development program. That's where you actually have detailed maps, you have the engineering plans, you have to have all the studies, the natural features inventory, traffic concurrency, looking at stormwater, looking at where the setbacks and buffers are. So this is the future phase where you get into all of those details. Right now, we're still at the broader level planning, the rezoning, as you can kind of see on this slide from the various stages of the land development process. When we look at a rezoning, the current phase, not the future phase with the site plan or subdivision, The current phase, the rezoning, we have specific criteria that we have to evaluate, and we have a very narrow set of criteria outlined in code for what we look at. And I'll go through each of these. So the first criteria is the request consistent with the comprehensive plan? Is the proposal consistent with all applicable policies of the adopted comprehensive plan? We evaluated this, and the answer is yes. The subject property is located inside the urban service area. So again, there's no request to amend the urban service area. There's no request to change the future land use map designation. The subject property does have access to central water and sewer. The property is in the suburban land use category. The comprehensive plan in the suburban land use category explains what development patterns are allowed to implement that land use category. The one in this area is low-density residential. That's defined as 0 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The proposed R2 district with a maximum density of 4.84 units per acre is within that 0 to 8 units per acre, so it implements that low-density residential development pattern as outlined by the suburban land use category in the comprehensive plan. So when we look at the comprehensive plan, the answer to the first criteria is yes. The second criteria is the proposal in conformance with any applicable substantive requirements of the land development regulations, including minimum and maximum district size? Again, when we evaluate this, the answer to that question is yes. The Land Development Code identifies what zoning will implement the suburban land use category, and R2 is one of those categories, or one of the zoning districts that implements that land use category. The code also identifies all of the zoning districts which constitute low-density residential development for the suburban land use category, and R2 is one of the 8 zoning districts that will implement the low-density residential development pattern as outlined in the code. The third criteria are change conditions. Have the land use and development conditions changed since the effective date of the existing zoning district regulations involved, which are relevant to the properties? We looked at this, and the answer to that is yes. In 2018, there was an adjacent parcel that was 61.09 acres directly to the west, adjacent to the subject site. It was rezoned from residential acre to R3. So there's already a precedent in this area of taking residential acre RA to a higher zoning district. R3 allows up to 8 dwelling units per acre. What is requested for this site is R2, which is less than that. It's, again, 4.84 units per acre. Also, since the time that this parcel is designated residential acre, it has received access to central water and sewer. So it now has water and sewer where it previously did not. And I'll note that if you look at the Land Development Code, it specifically says that residential acre, RA, is intended to apply to areas where sanitary sewer is not expected to be. Since the site does have sanitary sewer, it's actually more consistent with the code to change it than it is to keep it RA. 4, land use compatibility. Will the proposal result in any incompatible land uses, considering the type and location of uses involved? When we look at the comprehensive plan and when we look at the land development regulations and how those are defined, the answer is no. All adjoining zoning districts are low-density residential in nature, and R2 is compatible with the adjacent future land uses and the surrounding zoning. As you can see on this map, kind of going back to it, this site is adjacent to R3 on 3 sides, on the north side, west side, and on the east side. Each of those places where R3 is designated would allow up to 8 dwelling units per acre. On the south side, the zoning is residential preservation, RP. That allows 6 units per acre. And then there's one 1 acre site that's RA. That allows 1 unit per acre. The proposed R2 would be 4.84 units per acre, which is a lower density than any of the surrounding zoning except for the RA. And if you look at all of the zoning districts, RA, R2, R3, they are all part of the low-density residential development pattern. When we look at how the properties adjacent to the site are used, We see that the sites are vacant, they're single-family detached homes, or they're community facilities. The proposed rezoning to R2 is consistent with those as it allows community facilities, it allows single-family detached homes, and it's obviously allowed to stay vacant until it's developed. The fifth criteria is there capacity in area schools? What effects on enrollment could the proposed rezoning have on area schools? This analysis was conducted by the Leon County Schools, and they indicated that there would not be any impact to the schools that would warrant any further consideration. And then finally, the last criteria is other matters. Are there any other matters that the commission may deem relevant and appropriate? State law narrowly constrains what the definition of relevant and appropriate are. And as staff, we looked at if there was anything that would fall within kind of that narrow constraint of state law and found nothing. In terms of public notification, we sent out 148 notices to all properties property owners within 1,000 feet of the subject site, and we always include adjacent neighborhood associations. This is consistent with code. Staff has also met with the neighborhood at their request twice. Staff has met with Mr. Gary Zarin and Mr. Tim Glenn at the planning department, and we have responded to various emails and phone calls along the way. To date, we have received a number of responses from neighbors opposing the rezoning. Their concerns primarily are that the development would be incompatible, that there would be increases in traffic, potential stormwater and flooding issues, impacts to wildlife and natural features, impacts on property values, increased crime, and the potential for multifamily development on the site. As I noted on the overall land development process slide, the next stage of development, not the current stage, but the next stage where we look at site plans and subdivision, or when the proposed development would have to show that it is consistent with all of the requirements of the Land Development Code. That is making sure that properties, you're not allowed to flood adjacent properties, so you have to meet the stormwater management criteria. That you have to do the traffic analysis, concurrency analysis, that you have to show where the setbacks are, where the buffers are, kind of all of those specific detailed criteria. And so most of these concerns, we hear the concerns, but most of the concerns are actually addressed at the next phase of development at the site plan and subdivision stage. And I'll note that multifamily is not an allowed use in R2, and so that just would not be allowed. A couple of other specific questions that came in, and we received questions and concerns about. The first one was transitional development areas. This is a policy in the land use element of the comprehensive plan, and it talks about what to do when higher density residential developments are proposed for areas adjoining established neighborhoods. I will say that this policy specifically shows that you are allowed to have higher density residential development adjacent to existing neighborhoods. This policy also goes on to say that these are non-mapped areas approved at the time of site plan approval. Again, site plan approval would be the next stage of development, not the current one, and so transitional development areas are not applicable at all at this current stage of development. We've also received questions about the 180-day deadline from when an application is received and deemed complete to when the board must have the public hearing. This is a statutory requirement that ensures that a public hearing is held. There is a provision in the statute where the applicant can request an extension to that time, so you can go over the 180 days at the request of the applicant. In this instance, the applicant has requested the extension. This is why we are past the 180 days. And I will note that the applicant requested the extension to have more time to talk to adjacent property owners and to confer and talk to the members of their church. This extension of time actually is what resulted in the reduction of density requested by the applicant. So originally, as was noted before, the applicant was requesting R3, and during that extension of time, there were conversations, and the church and the applicant requested R2 instead. So that is a lower density zoning district than previously requested. The statute does not apply to third parties. The statute for this 188-day deadline is specifically between the applicant and the county, and so is not intended to include third parties. And because the applicant has requested the extension, there are no concerns with the 180-day deadline whatsoever in this situation. And then finally, there were specific questions about the RA portion of the site that would remain, or south of the site that would remain if the rezoning is approved. We have no concerns whatsoever with the remaining RA that would be here, approximately 1 acre, if the rezoning is approved. RA and R2, again, are all considered low-density residential, and they're in the Land Development Code as that development pattern. Both zoning districts implement the suburban land use category, so from a land use standpoint, not an issue. The subject site currently has R3 and RA on it, so there's already a precedent for RA and R3 or R2 being in proximity with each other. Thank you. Again, in 2018, there was a rezoning that took the parcel directly to the west of the subject site from RA to R3. Again, this was increasing the density adjacent to RA, not a problem. So we have no concerns whatsoever for there to be a remaining small portion of RA after the rezoning, if it is approved. Based on the criteria, those 1 through 6 that we went over, the recommended action is option 1, which would be to conduct the first and only public hearing and to adopt the proposed ordinance, thereby approving the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you next speaker? Sir? There will be. So the way this will work is each of the different speakers of 3 will be able to speak, and then after that, we'll hear from our speakers in the audience, correct? Madam Attorney?
If any of the 3 speakers, authorized speakers, reserved had time left, they can use that for rebuttal. Then we will go to public comment after that closes.
But I think what he's asking, the public will not be able to question the 3 speakers that have the 20 minutes, correct?
That's correct.
Will the speakers be able to question each other?
They can cross-examine if they wish. They will have to be placed under oath to do so, and they'll be limited to 5 minutes total.
Thank you. Sir, does that answer your question? Just procedurally, Ms. Meggs, I'll take a question from you, then we're going to go ahead and go.
Okay, I would like to ask the planner a question.
I'll tell you what, so if I could, I'm going to get through all 3 speakers, and then he can cross-examine after his 20 minutes, correct? Or does it have to be during his 20 minutes?
No, he has separate time to
Okay.
cross-examine if he wishes.
So you'll have 20 minutes to present, Mr. Meggs, you'll have 20 minutes to present, and then after your 20 minutes, if you want to cross-examine Mr. White, you can do that then. Is that cool? And then after the cross-examination period that we're talking about, then we'll go straight into public comment. Is that agreeable? Everybody cool? Everybody okay with that? Mr. Meggs, sir, Artie, we good with that? All right.
All right.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Todd Sapp, pastor of Northwoods Church. Good evening, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to present our request for rezoning this evening. Let me begin by giving some background on the church and why we are requesting this rezoning. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Northwoods was a large and growing church. We conducted 4 services each weekend, 1 Saturday and 3 on Sunday. We needed space for growth, and the church was convinced that the only thing that would hinder our growth was a lack of space. The church decided to purchase an additional land. which is the land that we are rezoning today, or requesting to have rezoned today. The church built a temporary structure to worship while planning to build a 3,000-seat auditorium with all of the required parking lots, which would have been constructed on the land that is under consideration today. The cost of that land and the temporary building put the church in debt, $3.2 million. When the church moved into the temporary structure in 2002, the anticipated growth did not happen. Growth stalled and eventually began to back up. In 2005, in frustration over the lack of growth and increasing lack of confidence in church leadership, a large portion of the congregation left. 2 years later, the pastor, who was instrumental in the church's previous growth, also decided to leave, and church attendance was negatively impacted again. Fast forward to 2020 with COVID, where attendance was again significantly impacted. The result of all those factors is a $3.2 million debt is still over $1.1 million, but instead of being serviced by a congregation of 1,200, that debt burden has shifted to a congregation of around 150. Knowing that the expected lifespan of our temporary structure was coming up on us, and still shackled by the debt, the church knew that a tough decision had to be made. Did we consider selling all 85 acres, most of which is already zoned R3? Yes, we considered that. But in the end decided that would be too detrimental to the church, and yes, would also have been detrimental to the neighborhood. We made the much less drastic decision to be prepared to sell the portion of the land that we are not using. We have one goal. We want to be a healthy, and that includes financially healthy, church in Northwest Tallahassee for the glory of God and the good of our community for a long time. The biggest threat to our continued presence in Northwest Tallahassee is our financial situation. And the biggest hindrance to our ability to do the good in the community that we'd like to do is being strapped by debt. A final decision on selling the land has not been made, but after speaking to realtors, we were advised that the best first step in the event we decided to sell was to rezone the 30-plus acre portion of the land from RA to R3. So after a congregational vote of the church approving the decision to rezone the land, we applied with the county to rezone 30 acres from RA to R3. After the church submitted the rezoning application and the notice was sent out to the surrounding neighbors, we heard opposition to our request. So we met with the president of the Riverwood Acres HOA at the time and were assured that we would have very little resistance in the neighborhood. He informed us that he was hopeful that development on the property would be a net positive for the community. After a couple of weeks, we were informed that the sentiment in the neighborhood had changed and suddenly there was significant opposition. So we scheduled a meeting with the HOA president, church leadership, and Commissioner Minor. At that meeting, Commissioner Minor made 3 suggestions that could help ease some of the neighborhood's concerns. The 3 things that Commissioner Minor suggested were: 1, provide an easement between our property and the neighborhood, which we are willing to do. Number 2, rezone to R2 rather than R3, which, as you've heard, has already taken place. And 3, offer to sell a portion of the land to adjacent neighbors for an additional buffer. Now, again, we have not made the final decision to sell any land. We're a congregationally governed church, so the church will ultimately make that decision. But we have told those who have inquired that they will be given proper consideration if and when the church sells land. In subsequent meetings with the neighbors, it was suggested we market the property as cemeteries. We did reach out to private cemeteries as well as the city of Tallahassee, but have not gotten any traction from those pursuits. So why do we believe we have a right to rezone the land that we own from RA to R2? Number 1, as has been stated, the 30 acres is surrounded on the west, north, and east by land that's already R3, and to the south, mostly RP, with a small part of RA. Number 2, R2 zoning fits into the comprehensive plan that the county adopted. The county defines R2 as low density. At 4.84 units per acre, R2 is well within that threshold. The county defines low density as anything between 0 and 8 units per acre. When the property was zoned RA, it did not have access to central water and sewage. Because of the improvements made on the property, those services are now available. At RA, this property is now inconsistent with the county's intent for RA, which was to provide interim zoning until water and sewage became available. Tonight, we are only asking for rezoning. Before any development takes place on the land, a site plan must be approved, permits must be granted. At that time, the county will do its due diligence regarding traffic studies and environmental studies and stormwater runoff. Today, the question is, does R2 fit into the county's policies for this land? And we believe it clearly does. Again, thank you for listening and considering our request, and I'm going to give some of my time to Mr. Jay Bostwick.
Madam Attorney? How much time does Jay have?
Most of the time I talk all the time, but I'm going to be quick. I just want to make one point, Nick. It won't take but a second. So,
You have 14 minutes.
all right, won't take near that long, I promise. So, we are a church. We want to be in the community. We want to be good neighbors. I understand homeowners. I am one, been there a long time, and nobody likes people moving in, and I feel for them. I understand all that. But, right now, today, we have over 50-something acres that is R3 that could go in there right now and build 400 and something homes. Today, that could happen. If, as Todd mentioned, the amount of people we have, if we had to leave for some reason this property, you got 85 acres at 8 units an acre. If we kept the zoning we had, we're trying to be good neighbors again, would be 680 units could go in there. And I assure you, if a developer comes in here, they ain't gonna worry about what the neighbors think. You got the comprehensive plan, you got, the law, y'all got, as a commission, it is required that y'all meet the state law, the Leon County law. I mean, it's really not a question, does it meet everything? Already did a great job. So we're trying our best to be good neighbors. We love these guys. We want to believe we're in Northwest Tallahassee for a reason, and we want to stay there. And if I was a neighbor, I'd be much happier to have our church there on 40 to 50 acres if we happen to get rid of some of it than have a developer come in there and take 640 homes. So, thank you.
Jay, give me your name and address for record real quick, sir.
Jay Bostwick, 2102 Great Oak Drive.
Thank you, sir. How many minutes left, ma'am? 12 minutes and 42 seconds. Now, Madam Attorney, they can use that time to rebut if it need to be.
If they desire to do so, yes.
Sir, would you like to use the rest of your time? Or you want to save that time for rebuttal?
We'll save it, please.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Meggs, you're up. 20 minutes. While he's coming up, after the 20 minutes is used, if they use the full 20 minutes, then there is no time for rebuttal, correct? All right, so Artie has no time for rebuttal.
Artie did have time remaining.
All right,
4
4 minutes for you,
13
Artie,
seconds.
and I believe 14 minutes for you. Mr. Meggs, you have 20 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Almost said, can I please the court? Please, court, I'd like to go forward. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Willie Meggs. I live at 4000 Riverwood Road, which is in the Riverwood Acres Neighborhood Association. In January, I got elected president of the Neighborhood Association, which we will call RANA, Riverwood Area Acres Neighborhood Association. I got elected because nobody else wanted the job. And I have been trying since the end of January to get impeached from this job that I currently have. And I've had no success in doing that. I stand here tonight with you, and there's two things that bother me greatly. The first is I don't like being in a dispute with my government. I have spent my entire adult life being a public servant for Leon County. I started my law enforcement career when I was 23 years old. I will turn 80 in June. I have spent my entire life doing that. I have children, 2 children that are public servants in the Leon County Sheriff's Office. So, and I have another daughter who is sitting by here that's an attorney with the Attorney General's office defending the state attorney's office in criminal appeals. So I don't want to be in a dispute with my government. And I'm not in a dispute with this commission at all. But I am in a dispute with the planning and zoning division of your agency. And I'll get to that in just a second. Second thing I would like to tell this body is I don't want to be in a dispute with the church. I became an attender of this church when I was in the 3rd grade. It was down where what is that, Chick-fil-A is on Tennessee Street, when Tennessee Street was a 2-lane road. I was in the Boy Scout troop. Fred Womble, who was a tax collector here in this county, was my scoutmaster. I spent my entire life involved in this church. I married my wife. I was baptized in the church. I married my wife 55 years ago. And we've been happily married for about 5 of those 55 years. And I don't want to be in a dispute with the church. I don't want to do that at all. But I want, before I go further, and I will honor your time, I can tell you that, I want to thank the county attorney. I applied for party status, and it was granted. I have written more since this started in June than I wrote in almost 32 years of being state attorney in this Second Judicial Circuit. I appreciate that, and I want to tell the county attorney, thank you, Ms. Osteen, for that privilege. I also want to thank Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Minor is our 3rd District County Commissioner. He has been a champion. I know he is one commissioner, and I know Commissioner Cummins also has been to our neighborhood. He knows our neighborhood. He's been out there. I think you've been to my barn once or twice, maybe 3 times. You have, at our homeowners meetings, at the meeting on this, we've met with you at the church, we've met with you with Lakewood, and you have spent a ton of time with us, and for that, I am very appreciative. As the president and as the person with party status, I do represent 84 families in the Riverwood Acre Neighborhood Association. And by the privilege that was given to me, I represent 24 families on Flat and Maddox Road. This, since June of 22, this past June, I can't tell you the numbers of conversations that I have had with neighborhoods, homeowners. We have done surveys. We have made phone calls. We've had encounters on the street. We've had encounters in the grocery store with our neighbors. And we have everything that we have sent out. I have not found one family in either one of those associations that is in favor of this rezoning. Not one family. There may be. Some of them are members of this church, and they are not in favor of it. I have a little PowerPoint that I want to kind of go through, and I hope we have someone here who will help me do that very thing. But on page 8 of the material that was provided to this commission, as the judicial officers in this case, in page 8, a question is asked, is this request for rezoning consistent with the comprehensive plan? If we could, as you put up, actually I have a little pointer here, it's on the board over here, and we looked at this comprehensive plan, some things that we see in there. There's a vision statement up there, and in the very beginning of this comprehensive plan that you, the commissioners, have approved, you describe Leon County as a more beautiful country can scarcely be imagined. And in your other excerpts from the comprehensive plan relate to character. And I want to talk about that. This community in the comprehensive plan on this line is designed to protect the natural resources and the scenic beauty. Your county planner says it meets and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It is not consistent with protecting the natural resources and scenic beauty, and I hope to demonstrate that to you shortly. The purpose of the comprehensive plan is to preserve, protect, and enhance the quality of life for all citizens. This proposed rezoning fails in every one of those aspects. The natural environment is one of the many criteria when combined form the community's perceived quality of life. This proposed rezoning fails totally as it relates to the perceived community quality of life. As such, the natural environment is a major component of the quality of life equation for Leon County, and as such, it must be protected. This rezoning does not protect the quality of life for the citizens that are affected by this request for rezoning. The residential environment is one of the many criteria which forms the community's perceived quality of life and must be protected. This fails to do this. The comprehensive plan says you should. This request for rezoning does not protect the quality of life of anybody that I represent in Riverwood, Maddox, and Flat Road. And then lastly, and I think probably more important, the intent of the plan is to maintain the integrity of existing neighborhood. When we think about the integrity of existing neighborhoods, this plan fails dramatically to protect and maintain the integrity of our neighborhood. Matter of fact, if this rezoning goes through, and I have no earthly idea what a .84 house is, but if 5 houses go up on this property up there on 32 acres, we will not maintain the integrity of our existing neighborhood. If we could move to the next PowerPoint, please. I see, and you have this in your packet, and we've modified it a little bit, but this is in your packet without the red lines that are on there. I've heard it said here, and I just want you to see this. Now the legend is covered up by this little deal over here, but the things in blue, I'm surprised, I'm pleased that it's in your packet, but in blue, what the legend says for that is water. So the R3 in this portion of Northwood's property, zoned R3, is underwater. You could zone that sucker heavy industrial and couldn't put anything in it. And that hurts a little bit. Now, the other thing that we see on this map that your county planner talked about, and this is who I'm in a dispute with, not you, them, the green covers wetland. The last time I checked, you can't even put a Bobcat front end loader in a wetland in Leon County. You'll get in trouble with environmentalists when you do that. So what we have in the remainder around this 32 acres, we have wetlands, wetland. In the front, we have wetland, and then we have some parking lots and stuff right in there. So there is a little bit of it that you might could put a house on in this R3 zoning. So I tell you that to make the point that water is a problem. And if you look at the elevations on this map in your package, we're not very smart out in Riverwood and Flat Road and Maddox Road, but we do know that water runs downhill. We figured that out. And the water that comes off of this side, the west side of this proposed rezoning, flows downhill and it flows into our neighborhood. And I'm going to show you a slide in a second that demonstrates that more thoroughly. So as we think about that, that water runs downhill, this land is surrounded by water and wetland, and you couldn't build anything on it because unless you're going to put it on stilts in a wetland and tear down year-old trees and things that are in it. I have to tell you, though, that one of the things, the great thing about this is this land, all of this land that we're talking about here is in the Fred George Basin. And if you know anything about Tallahassee, I have lived there in that area all of my life. This Fred George Basin is wet, and you're going to see that in a little bit in the next PowerPoint, or one of them. I have to tell you this from experience, and I know the zoning and planning people, the planning department probably did not go out there. But I can tell you the water table in Riverwood, Flat Road is extremely high. I put up some fence. You're going to see some of them in a video shortly. I put up some fence. I dig a post hole, and before I could put the post in the hole, it was beginning to fill up with water. That's our water table out there. My zero-turn lawnmower, when I lived on Flat Road, would get stuck in my backyard, and I'd have to get something to pull it out because of the water table that is in our neighborhood. And I noticed, if you notice here, this is a body of water. I'll get to this other body of water over here in a second. But, whew, man, have I only got 7 minutes left? I'm tearing myself up here. I'm gonna have to hustle, but I will hustle. Let me hustle. If you put the next slide up, one of the things you did, and this county commission did that, you gave a proclamation to Jim and Tara that live there. They have a 42-acre land preserve over there. One of the things that we know about that is what they have over there is 42 acres. And you gave them an award for their environmental and wildlife and habitat stuff. 5 of you on this commission signed that. I have it, and you see it right there. You see your signatures. And one of the things that we have there is what we have is Tara writes this in a news article, we have the only woodstock stork rookery within 50 miles and with up to 275 nests. That's about 700 birds altogether. There are bobcats, coyotes, raccoons, foxes, otters, beavers, marsh rabbits, Canadian geese, wood ducks, whistling ducks, egrets, blue heron, green herons, and a couple of other things that I can't even pronounce that are over there. And I tell you that because that is 11 miles from where we're standing tonight. It is 11 miles from the capital of the 3rd largest state in the United States of America in this area. And the next one I want to show you, though, if we can still go to the next slide, I do have to really hustle. This is a picture of an overhead view. Those things that are in dark gray, a light gray there, all of those are bodies of water. And our neighborhood goes back to the rest area on Interstate 10. All of those water bodies are connected with wetlands. And all of those that are in light gray are connected with wetlands. They protect what we have, well, I'm trying to hurry it way too fast. I don't want to do that, but I got to. Hit up PowerPoint 4. Oh, no, skip that one. Skip that one. Skip that one. Skip that one. All right, this one right here is our neighborhood going in. And this right here is a 25-acre swamp in our neighborhood. Okay. I got to play a tape. I got to do that. Can you boot up my tape?
141 feet from the edge of the church field.
Of
Of all the homes on the north side of Maddox Road, mine is the closest to the church property being considered for rezoning. I look out my windows toward the church to see a natural environment that significantly contributes to my quality of life. As noted in the comprehensive plan, the natural environment is one of the many criteria which, when combined, form the community's perceived quality of life. As such, it must be protected. For the past 15 years, I've considered this my forever home. Its secluded location and natural beauty are consistent with my neighbors Michael and Suzetta Furlong, who referred to their home as their paradise. When I purchased my residential preservation home in 2007, it was described as a mountain setting. I understood the surrounding land would not be developed. The comprehensive plan states that it protects the natural and aesthetic environments and residential neighborhoods. Increasing the density of dwellings within this pristine area seems contrary to the plan. The church property is located on 3 sides of my property. I may go from being the only resident on Maddox Road who can't see any neighbors to the one that can see all the new homes. I would be financially unable to relocate due to investing most of my life savings into numerous home renovations and hurricane recovery over the years. To quote my neighbor Suzetta Furlong, the people who have already poured their life's earnings and labor to maintain their properties are the ones who are going to be negatively impacted. I am concerned about the negative impact on wildlife. Many species travel through my property, moving toward the forest and field on the church property. This undeveloped land is an important throughway between Fred George Greenway and the Lake Talquin State Forest. I frequently view deer, gray foxes, and have also witnessed raccoons, opossum, armadillo, chipmunks, squirrels, wild turkeys, red-shouldered hawks, and an occasional bear. In June, a barred owl sat quietly overlooking the church, as if asking me to help protect their home. To date, multiple responses in opposition have been received. During the June 7th update for the Planning Commission, it was stated that there were a lot of them. Today's preliminary agenda included 47 pages of citizen comments and 928 pages of ex parte communications, with only 2 notes of support for rezoning. These attachments included 60 neighborhood surveys expressing unanimous opposition to rezoning, and a petition with 343 signatures. Additional signatures have been added this week. If something is a really bad idea, but it checks all the boxes on the Planning Commission's checklist, should it be approved? To quote my neighbor and former state attorney Willie Meggs, it's plain wrong. The Planning Commission's vote on the proposed ordinance was problematic. There was a small pool of voting commissioners because 2 were absent and 1 recused themselves. This limited the professional perspectives needed for analysis. The voting panel and public speakers waited 42 seconds in uncomfortable silence as half the voting members refrained from offering a second to the motion to approve. After consulting an attorney, the chair finally seconded the motion. The vote was not unanimous. A negative vote requires a justifiable reason. Therefore, reason for denial must exist. I fear that the commissioners will simply accept the recommendation without question. The fact that the agenda includes a recommendation for approval at least 7 times seems to be inappropriate. Does saying it enough times make it true? This rezoning is a really bad idea. Do not defer to the recommendation without considering the major issues that are not within the purview of the Planning Commission's analysis. Where in this process is the devastating impact to multiple communities considered? This decision cannot occur without considering how rezoning will impact adjacent and nearby residents. Option 2, do not adopt the proposed ordinance, is the correct choice based on competent, substantial evidence placed on the record at this hearing. Please protect our neighborhoods and preserve our quality of life. Thank you.
I have 37 seconds.
141 feet from the edge of the church field.
If you could go back, can you go back to mine? Well, good, sir. Oh, no, you can go to the animal. Put it forward. As you're looking on the screen up here, all I want to see with my 26 seconds left is this is our neighborhood. This is what we have. None of that. These are my daughter's chickens. These are deer that frequent my front yard. This is a little baby deer on Riverwood that the mother left. This is what we have, and we do not want to see it destroyed by a group of 5 houses per acre adjacent to our property. I apologize for not being as efficient. I know. I apologize for not being as efficient as I planned to be.
Oh, no, you're totally fine, sir. So now we move into rebuttal. Is there a rebuttal coming from the church? Okay. You have 14 minutes.
And actually, rebuttal may not be the right term.
Give me a second. I'm sorry. 12? You got 12 minutes, 33 seconds.
Okay, and rebuttal might not be the right term because actually I think we have a point of agreement. We love wildlife just as well, but the wildlife that we're talking about is because that neighborhood also, just to the west of it, has the 2,700 acre Ochlockonee River Wildlife Refuge. So if you consider that the neighborhood, which we were just told has 84 houses in it, I've also been told that they average 4 to 5 acres per house. So the neighborhood itself has over 300 acres of rural living backing up to the Ochlockonee River Wildlife Refuge. It's just hard for me to see how us rezoning 32 small acres compared to that 3,000 acres that we're talking about has that much impact on the wildlife. Again, just to remind you, At first, the neighbors had problems with our density request because they said it was too dense, so we agreed to have a lesser density at R2 rather than R3. They said they were concerned about multifamily housing. For some reason, they had a problem that there might be duplexes in the neighborhood, so we agreed to go to R2 zoning, so it would only be single-family dwelling. So again, we have done everything that we have known to do to try to reach a middle ground with the neighborhood. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to give Artie a chance to rebut. And then after Artie rebuts, then I'll give you an opportunity to do cross-examination. Is that correct? All right, Artie. I'm doing pretty good at this. Huh?
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Just a couple of points of rebuttal. The presentation we just saw mentioned flooding. Again, when a site plan is submitted, it has to demonstrate that it meets the land development regulations, which include stormwater management. Any development on the site would not be allowed to develop to flood adjacent properties. So that is something that would be addressed at the site plan and subdivision site stage of development, which would be subsequent to the rezoning. There was also a number of environmental concerns at the site plan and subdivision stage of development. A natural features inventory is required, and that addresses the environmental considerations for the site. There was a number of references to the comprehensive plan with regards to character. When we look at consistency with comprehensive plan, we look at the goals, objectives, and policies of every element of the comprehensive plan. You have to look at the policies in their entirety. You can't pull a couple of sentences or half a sentence of a policy and claim that there's inconsistencies. And so as we're looking at the comprehensive plan, yes, it does address character. It addresses character and it defines what the character of this area is. It defines it as low density residential. That is 0 to 8 dwelling units per acre. That is the defined character of the area. R2 is consistent with that defined character of the area. The comprehensive plan also goes on to more detail about not just that it will protect the character of the area, but how it's going to do that. It does that by establishing land development regulations that include buffering, they include screening, they include setbacks, they include protecting environmental features. So the comprehensive plan never says that you can't have higher density residential next to slightly lower density residential. It just says that if you have that situation, that development will have to meet the land development regulations, and the land development regulations that get applied at the site plan level is when those things go into effect, and that is how it would protect character. And finally, I think there's a little bit of confusion about competent substantial evidence. Mr. Glenn's video that we just watched acknowledged that the proposed rezoning checks all the boxes. It asked the question, do you just approve it if it checks all the boxes?
Yes.
The answer to that question is actually yes. If it checks all the boxes, then it meets the criteria, and that is why the recommended action is option number 1, approve the rezoning.
Thank you, sir. Before we get to the rebuttal, I do want to make note of that last point that Artie made, and I have a question for the attorney. If it checks all the boxes, then how do we find legal standing to say anything except for yes? Is there any wiggle room there if it checks all the boxes? What I'm asking you.
This board would have to make findings on the record that denial furthers a legitimate public purpose and that it somehow does not meet all the criteria that are this board's basis for consideration of this rezoning.
And we will make that determination?
Yes, and you would need to do so explaining and articulating your findings on the record before you vote.
And that's based off of the 6 things that Artie placed up on the screen, correct?
That is what your code says. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll move now to, is there any more rebuttal? See that there's no more rebuttal. Madam Attorney?
I think at this point, we're at the point where Mr. Meggs will be placed under oath, and the person he wants to ask the questions of will be placed under oath, and they get their 5 minutes of cross-examination.
All right, great. So, Mr. Meggs, we need to place you under oath, and then you will call whoever you want to be cross-examined, and they'll be placed under oath. Yes, sir. So I think she's going to do that for us.
To all giving testimony, please stand if possible and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Mr. Meggs, would you like to cross-examine?
I just wanted to ask a question.
Mr. White, stand and take the same oath, please.
Mr. White, all those giving testimony, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I tell you what, Mr. White, if you can, please just come take a seat right here, just so we can have you in a place that everybody has an opportunity. That's perfect right there. And from the lectern there, Mr. Meggs, please, so everybody can hear. And you have 5 minutes.
Okay, Mr. White, you said that the church said that they decided to change the zoning from R3 to R2. Are you aware that your senior planner, 6 days after the hearing before the Zoning and Planning Commission, wrote an email to the church, the engineer for this application, suggesting that they change it to R2? Is that your job? It is your job.
Mr. White, if we can press the little button there so I can hear you. There you go.
Yes.
So it is your job then as the planning department to help people and tell people how to defeat a neighborhood that's in opposition.
It is our job to provide customer service to applicants as well as anyone else who has questions, yes.
We ask a lot of questions. Did you provide us with any information?
I did. I actually attended a neighborhood meeting at your property and answered all the questions that I was asked at that meeting. We had land use staff attend another meeting with the neighborhood, answered all the questions that they received at that point. I had Mr. Glenn and Mr. Zirin come into the planning department and ask questions. We answered all the questions that they had. We've received numerous emails and we've received numerous phone calls, and we've answered all the questions that we received. So yes.
Did you make any suggestions to the neighborhood association on how they could prevail here tonight?
We informed the neighborhood association of their right to attend this meeting. Clearly, there are a lot of them here, and that they could voice their opposition to this. And when Mr. Zirin and Mr. Glenn came to the planning department, they asked me questions about what would constitute competent and substantial evidence, and I explained what that would be, and pointed them to the comprehensive plan. So yes.
Okay. Nothing further.
Nothing further? All right. Thank you, Mr. White. Is there any other cross-examination? Mr. White, sir? No? Mr. White? Okay. Madam Attorney, are we done now with the presenters and the cross-examinations?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's now time for public comment.
All right. It is now 7:15, you all. We have, again, 58 speakers. We are, as a board, we're going to sit here, we're going to listen to everything you have to say. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes, but I'll tell you this, I will cut you off. 3 minutes is all you get. If you want to waive in support, waive in support. If you want to waive in opposition, you have every right to do that. If there's a speaker who wants to speak for a group of folks and have them stand up, you can do that as well. However you want to figure it out, we figure it out, but we're here until we get this thing figured out. Mr. Administrator, start from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will announce the speaker who's first on deck and who they will be followed by, just so you can be prepared and ready to go. The first speaker is Philip Zinger, to be followed by Jay Bostwick.
Philip, as soon as you get up here, name and address for the record, please, sir. Mr. Administrator, all speakers, is there anybody out in the lobby? Or is everybody in here? Can they hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Make sure they know as they come in, or at least when they're on deck, that they come on in. Name and address for the record, please, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Excuse me. Philip Zinger, 7969 High Bridge Road. Board members, good evening. Thank you for your time. As I said, my name is Phil Zinger. I am a member of Northwoods Church. I would like to say that I have no animosity towards any of our neighbors. In fact, excuse me. In fact, we're told in Leviticus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, Romans, Galatians, and James to love our neighbors. Now, imagine, if you may, you're doing very well. Your job pays you well, your spouse has a good job, and everything's going good. So you make an investment in some property. Now, years down the road, your income decreases for whatever reason. It may be cutbacks at work, a layoff, or any other reason, but you're now strapped for cash and a way of paying off that property. Now, you can't pay attention to your spouse or your children the way you want to. You can't spend the time doing what you know you should be doing because you're working extra hard, multiple jobs, to pay off the property that years ago you could easily afford. Would you not try to do everything, every moral and ethical thing that you could do to pay off that debt, including selling the property that you'd purchased years ago? Well, that's the position that Northwoods is in. We were a large church with thousands of members and an income to take on a multi-million-dollar debt. We're now a much smaller congregation, still burdened with a large debt, a debt that prevents us from loving our neighbors the way that God wants us to love them. We have to focus on the debt instead of focusing on His work. We're trying to do everything that is morally and ethically correct and right to alleviate the debt, including the possibility of selling off some of the property so that we can focus on God's work and loving our neighbors. In asking for the acreage to be rezoned to R2, we are not asking to make the property available to a higher building density than most of our neighbors, but still making it easier to sell if we have to. We want to do the right thing. We want to do the right thing by God. We want to do the right thing by our neighbors. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Dave
you.
Bostwick, to be followed by Robert Bethia. Jay Bostwick, support. Gotcha. Doug Harrell, to be followed by Jennifer Stokely.
My name's Doug Harrell. I'm in support of Northwoods being rezoned for R2. Had the original plan of our church been carried through, we wouldn't be here tonight, because on the property that's everybody's talking about wildlife and all, there'd be a 3,000 seat sanctuary, and the rest of it would be asphalt parking lot. But as with a lot of places, plans change. And so then we're doing our best to try to bring compromise with the neighborhood, but the neighborhood is only looking at the negative impacts, of wildlife, but stormwater runoff and all that. But there's a lot of things that could go good. We've met with other developers that looked at the property and said, with the amount of acreage you got, with the infrastructure and the holding ponds, you most likely have an R2 subdivision here. And what we have figured is you probably have 112 to 115 single family homes. It could be a really nice neighborhood that, instead of impacting the neighborhood, negatively, could be a very positive thing. A nice neighborhood would probably raise, property values instead of property values declining. All the other issues, the traffic, the stormwater, has been told 2 or 3 times, would be handled at other portions, site plan, and with the development, so we could have increase. We've met with the homeowners along with Commissioner Minor, and I just have to express my appreciation to you, Commissioner Minor. I mean, you were wonderful
to facilitate meetings. We met, I think, 4 different times with the neighborhood. Every concession that Commissioner Minor came up with, we offered. Increased easements, the possibility of selling land to the people that border the property, going from an R3 to R2, even pursuing having a cemetery, somebody buy it for a cemetery instead of for development. All these things we offered to the neighborhood to try to make concessions, to try to make peace, and every one of them were rejected. So we on our own decided to go for R2, so that, the picture that you could see in the future was a beautiful single family home neighborhood, And so all we're asking for here, everybody in that neighborhood has multi-acreage. Mr. Meggs has 100 acres, and nothing we're going to do on this 30 acres can affect you if you've got 100 acres surrounding you, or multi-acres, as well as 2,700 acres of Okolotny management area that's behind their properties. So, all we're asking is for a fair and impartial vote, because I think the Planning Commission, has said that it checks all the boxes, and we have no desire, to hurt our neighborhood.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Jennifer Stokely waves in support. Lorena Hollett.
Jennifer, you want to wave? Stokely? Yeah. Okay. All right, there you go. Next speaker. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Lorena Hollett. I live at 4525 Bullfen Drive subdivision. I would like to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to speak tonight. I especially would like to focus on the comprehensive plan number 6, which states that when the site was originally zoned RA, it did not have access to the infrastructure to support development more intense than what is allowed under the current zoning. The zoning designation was consistent with suburban categories intended to provide a lower intensity interim use until infrastructure was available for higher intensity development. And I want to focus the infrastructure part here, which includes roadways. That property will give access straight to Capitol Circle Northwest, which at this time is 2-lane, that part of the Capitol Circle. And traffic's already problematic in that area. I know because I have to deal with that every day. And this week, as a matter of fact, I almost hit somebody 3 times because trying to get out of my neighborhood, trying to go to work. Okay, fact. I contact Florida Department of Transportation to trying to find out if there was plans for improvement or modification to that part of Capitol Circle Northwest. And according to Brian Patches, which project manager for Florida Department of Transportation, he says that there is no plan for that area to change, develop anything up to 2026. So we are talking about adding more cars to an area that's already swamped with automobiles. And you're telling me that this is acceptable, that this is not going to negatively impact the surrounding area. I extremely oppose the rezoning of this property. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Evan Stokely waves in support. Donald Hollett.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
To be followed by Maria Jett.
My name is Donald Hollett. I also live at 4529 Bowfin Drive. My property actually goes right up to Capitol Circle. And so I'm a few hundred yards from the church. I'm within that 1,000 feet. I did get the notices, did have to work and couldn't attend the original meetings, but glad to be here tonight. To vote in opposition, or to choose option 2, I guess, the commission has to have, I guess, actionable, Chastity, you had specific wording. I don't remember what it was, but there has to be evidence-based reasons to do it, I guess, for lack of better law terms. One of the items that they had to check that the planning committee said it met was access to the infrastructure that's needed for the property. So I work with facilities maintenance at the university, and I can tell you that many times we have researchers or classrooms, teaching labs that need access to water or power. And I can tell you that if I have a half-inch water pipe going to a room that needs to run a flume for civil engineering that needs a large water supply, they have access to water, they have access to power, but it doesn't mean that that is adequate access to the infrastructure that's needed. We contacted, as my wife said, the Department of Transportation and was told that there is no plans, there have been no plans, and there is nothing under consideration to increase the flow of traffic, to widen, to better the traffic flow that's there. So if you count just the 32 acres at 4.84, that's over 140 houses that's possible. If it's only 119, as was said before, still, if you take that, and most houses have at least 2 cars, some have 4 and 5, you're talking about several hundred new cars every morning going in and out and in the evening. So that will have a drastic impact to right where I'm living, a few hundred yards from the church, and me being able to leave in the morning and get back in the evening to my house. Also, we contacted Talquin, and Talquin said that they only have limited availability of water and sewer, that they do not have adequate to have an entire new subdivision there. So it says that there's been improvement made to the property, that now there is sewer and water connectivity, but if you have a half-inch pipe and you need a 3-foot pipe, that doesn't mean that there is access to the infrastructure that is needed. And so I request that based on the infrastructure, that you vote no, that the infrastructure is not there. And those studies are available in the county record and with the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Maria Jett to be followed by Rod Maddox.
Maria Jett waves in support.
Rod Maddox to be followed by Melody Adams.
Rod Maddox. Yes. Beautiful last name, sir.
Brother from another mother.
Yes, I'm Rod Maddox. I live at 5126 Maddox Road, adjacent to the church property. First, I want to acknowledge that this is a privilege to be gathered to participate in a process that shapes where we live. So I honor this process by speaking to you now. My family sold the land of the church in the 1980s and 90s in 2 separate transactions. They contemplated developing the land themselves, but when the church sale became an option, it was decided that the more passive approach of land use would lessen the impact to the neighborhoods. In discussion with church members, we always thought that their plans would have vacant land mixed in that would be more compatible with our neighborhood. This has now been jeopardized. I spent my whole life there, frequently visiting my grandparents from town, one of the first few homes that were built there. As a kid, I slept on the porch with my grandmother listening to the foxes and owls and enjoyed plentiful deer, foxes, raccoons, bears, on and on. We raised horses and chickens, vegetables and trees. This was always known to the family as the farm. I first moved out there with my parents after high school, eventually building a house for my family on the location where we once sported horses. Through the years, other homes were built on both sides of Capitol Circle, extending to the south and west in the River Road community, to the State Forest, and east in Deer Run neighborhoods, which were all done in large tracts, averaging about 3.4 acres per residential dwelling. about 175 homes. Except for a handful, all the residential parcels are over an acre per dwelling. Many owners also have horses and other large animals, gardens, natural wood buffers, and open space, creating a peaceful environment. That's why we all chose to live here. Just to talk about the comp plan, to reiterate some of the quotes, the purpose of the comprehensive plan is to preserve, protect, and enhance the quality of life for all citizens. The natural environment is a major component in the quality of life equation for Leon County. As such, it must be protected. It is the intent of the plan to maintain the integrity of existing neighborhoods, unquote. The increase of noise, traffic, loss of open space, contact with wildlife, environmental and flooding risk will be the future here if a development like this happens. To us, a change of zoning and the development that follows will forever negatively impact our daily lives. Please consider how this area has evolved and how such an aggressive plan will impact the current residents. The character of these neighborhoods is at stake. We are not against development, just one that so misrepresents the density that is incompatible with current uses. Please leave the current zoning RA. That zoning definition, although still is above the current densities, reflects densities more in line with the community and sensitivity of the environment. I'm aware that times are different now and that a handshake does not hold as much meaning these days, so this process may have taken the place of a handshake.
So it's time.
A promise to do right by one another.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Melody Adams, to be followed by Gary Zirin.
Ma'am.
Gary,
waves in support.
Gary Zirin, to be followed by Susan Brosnan Maddox. And I apologize if I get your name.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Gary Zirin, I live at 5150 Maddox Road. Our home is actually the closest to the property you're being asked to rezone at 141 feet. My comments are going to be contained in a video that I prepared, and I urge you to vote for option 2 and not adopt the ordinance.
Wildwood, Flowerwood, Lakewood, Autumnwoods, Northwoods. These names conjure up images of natural beauty. Please don't allow Northwoods to become No-Woods. The Maddox family sold the property to the church in 1997 for playgrounds and ball fields. Rod Maddox has stated that the family could have sold to a developer but chose to sell to the church in order to maintain the essence of the neighborhood. Directly across Capitol Circle, only 658 feet away, is a wildlife sanctuary that received an award from the Florida Wildlife Federation. The commission recently presented a proclamation thanking owners Stevenson and Tanaka for their contributions to natural values and commended them for their long-standing commitment to sensitive stewardship and protection. The commission should protect the vulnerable wildlife by rejecting this rezoning request. If a residential neighborhood is placed across the street, many animals will be displaced. Inaccurate information has been provided throughout this process. Number 1, references are made regarding the property being surrounded by R3 and RP properties, yet the property is also adjacent to an RA zone property along the southern border, which allows only a maximum of 1 dwelling unit per acre. This was not included in Table 3 for the Planning Commission. Planning Department emails prove prior knowledge. It might come up at Planning Commission and snowball into a larger issue. Are we creating another headache for getting a certified legal description? The little island of RA might confer some additional protections from any development. Number 2, how is it that 4.84 homes per acre is compatible when adjacent to a neighborhood in which the average acreage per homeowner is 3.89 acres? Number 3, the staff answered not applicable regarding other matters which the commission may consider relevant and appropriate, even though acknowledging numerous concerns from constituents. The Planning Commission's recommendation does not support the comprehensive plan's purpose, which includes to preserve, protect, and enhance the quality of life for all citizens. What about ensuring that density is based on protection of conservation and preservation features and compatibility with adjacent, existing, and future residential land uses? Rush hour traffic along Capitol Circle is horrific, and a new community will contribute to the severity of the problem. Capitol Circle also acts as a truck route for many industrial businesses. Residents wait for extended periods to enter the highway. This existing congestion should be considered before rezoning, not afterward. I ask the Commission to consider the implications of rezoning. Please do not allow the disruption of this property's natural beauty. This rezoning request will lead to devastating impacts on multiple communities. As our neighbor Willie Meggs has said, this will destroy an established neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next speaker.
Susan Brosnan Maddox, to be followed by Greg Adams.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Hi, you got my name right, thank you. Susan Brosnan Maddox. I live at 5126 Maddox Road. Okay. Yep. And I also have a video.
The protection of our neighborhoods as the Tallahassee-Leon County Comprehensive Plan intended. The rezoning of the Northwoods Church property is not consistent with the comprehensive plan due to criteria related to the land use compatibility and other matters deemed relevant and appropriate. Largely relevant is the character of the surrounding neighborhoods and the devastating impact that will occur to that character if a higher density residential neighborhood is permitted to be built on a unique land use pattern surrounded on 3 sides by flood zones and wetlands. The word character is mentioned 23 times in the comprehensive plan. Synonyms for character include personality, nature, qualities, properties, traits, distinctiveness, identity, uniqueness, and feeling. Our properties have these traits. This excerpt from Residential Land Use Policy 2.1.1 gets to the heart of many of our concerns. Protect existing residential areas from encroachment of incompatible uses that are destructive to the character and integrity of the residential environment. Decisions regarding land use must comply with the purpose and expressed intent. The plan says, unwise land use decisions can seriously and permanently alter the character of a neighborhood. Item number 1 in the staff's key points of the analysis should be based upon unique land use patterns, character, and availability of infrastructure. The staff claims that this rezoning is consistent with these criteria, yet only references number 1, central sewer and water, which has limited capacity and is only available to the church in the neighborhood. Number 2, access to a principal arterial roadway, one which can't handle additional traffic. Number 3, a zoning district that is compatible with adjoining properties, even though the maximum density in R2 is 19.36 times denser than the adjacent properties. The character of the neighborhood described in the comprehensive plan was not addressed by the staff and is a matter that the board must deem relevant and appropriate. It's as if the staff completed their entire analysis based on charts, maps, and documents and never visited the area to evaluate the neighborhood's character. If rezoning is allowed, the land will be developed and result in the loss of 20-plus acres of forest and 10-plus acres of open space. Our area is exactly what the comprehensive plan describes in the vision statement. It says, a more beautiful country can scarcely be imagined. Other character-related excerpts from the plan that must be considered include, the community relies upon the comprehensive plan to protect the natural resources and scenic beauty. The natural environment is a major component in the quality of life equation for Leon County. As such, it must be protected. The residential environment is also one of the many criteria which form the community's perceived quality of life and must be protected. It is the intent of the plan to maintain the integrity of existing neighborhoods. Residents have placed on the record ample evidence of how rezoning will negatively impact their quality of life by destroying the character of their neighborhoods. For the reasons provided here, and for all the additional testimony and evidence on the record, please choose option 2 and do not adopt the proposed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Greg Adams, to be followed by Tim Glenn.
Greg Adams waves in support. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Tim Glenn, to be followed by Robert Albrecht.
Mr. Glenn, sir, how you doing? Name and address for record, please.
Tim Glenn, 5150 Maddox Road. Commissioners, I have been dealing with the stress of this for about 8 months. It's taken a huge toll on my life, but I'm not going to focus on the emotion tonight. I'm going to stick with the facts. So I'd like to start with 5 examples of inaccurate information in the agenda for tonight. If you'd like to follow with me on page 1146, there's a paragraph that says, the applicant seeks to rezone a district with lower maximum allowed density than any of the adjacent zoning designations. That's not true. The property directly to the south is zoned residential preservation, which allows up to 6 dwelling units per acre. That is also not true because they're not mentioning the RA property that exists there as well. In the key points of the analysis on page 1150, if you look at number 3, it says
The neighboring properties are also low-density residential. They are R3 and residential preservation. There's no mention of the RA property, which also exists to the south. And number 4, the proposed zoning district, R2, is considered compatible with the adjacent zoning districts, R3 and RP. Once again, no mention of the RA. The map on page 1163 also lists the other zoning districts, but not the RA. So the omission of this information regarding the adjacent RA property began with the publishing of the agenda for the Planning Commission on June 7th. I contacted the Planning Department on the 7th to make them aware of the inaccuracy. The item was not corrected, and the Planning Commission based their vote on inaccurate information. I think that you should not place a lot of weight on the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval. The agenda for that was created for July 12th, is the meeting when this agenda item was tabled, was also inaccurate. And as you've seen in tonight's agenda, it's still there. The 3 emails that Gary Zurian's video referenced, the first, they're on the record, but the first email on May 5th talked about an island of RA that might snowball into a larger issue. The second email from May 9th said that it could create a headache for getting a certified legal description. And the third email on May 10th said that it could potentially add additional protections from any development. Let's think about those 3 emails. One that snowballs into a bigger problem, one that creates a headache, and one that might actually provide protection for the adjacent residents as far as additional development. I understand that typos can happen, but collectively, those 3 emails offer information that could lead to not approving the request. It's my feeling that our RA property was intentionally left out of tonight's background and key points of analysis for fear of creating a roadblock to approval. The Leon County residents deserve to have the decisions that impact them so severely be based on accurate information. I ask that you please choose option 2 and do not approve the proposed ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Robert Albritton, to be followed by Stanley Sims.
Robert Albritton waves in support. Mr.
Stanley Sims, to be followed by Sharon Albritton.
Name and address for record, please, sir.
Stanley Sims, 1320 Avondale Way. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking of you. Help me to be what I can be and all that I am. That ain't church today, but here's where I am. I live at 1320 Avondale Way. Like Sarah Palin, I can sit on my porch and see Amazon. I can sit on my porch and see Fall Chase. I can sit on my porch and see Walmart. We had foxes, coons, ducks, quacks, all that stuff running through our neighborhood. But guess what? It checked the box. They didn't listen to us, Mr. Meggs, because it checked the box. So stop. We gonna stop now because we come to the church? A church that has fed the hungry, clothed the naked, and because they ain't got big time developers to push that they check the box. Because that's what they did. They did everything. And the Maddox sold them this land, and we thank God for it. But after you sold it, baby, it's over. Pull out your memory book. It's in the hands of the church. And they are using great guidance and using their legal God-given right. A calamity came. They can't serve like they used to serve, and they are in debt. We require pastors to be good stewards of the church. Commissioner Proctor, it's time to check the box. If we can check it for Amazon, we can check it for Fall Chase, we can check it for Walmart, let's check it for the church. Let's check it for the church. No, it ain't right, but it's tight. I got to go. My back hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Next speaker.
Sharon Albritton, to be followed by Suzette Furlong.
Sharon Albritton, waves of support. Next
Suzette Furlong, to be followed by J.C. Carbonet.
Ms. Furlong, I hope I said that right. Name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Suzetta Furlong.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm Suzetta Furlong. I live with my family at 3670 Flat Road. We've been there for 17 years. We're just a little bit down the hill from the church to the southwest, and we have enjoyed their fireworks over the many years. Thank you for those free shows. We appreciate that. Those of us living on Maddox and Flat Roads have deeds with restrictive covenants. And we don't mind that. That's why we bought those properties, so that we could have horses and mules and bees and chickens and all those other good things. And among those restrictions, we are required to have more than 2-acre lots. And most on our road, Flat Road and Maddox Road, have 4 or 5 acres. The county has stated that it does not enforce restrictive covenants on deeds, which is fine. We don't need them to do that. We're not asking the planners to do that. We're asking them to consider the impacts of the rezoning to the property owners with restrictive covenants. The county planners have the ability, and this is following on some of the other comments you've heard of the inaccurate information that's been provided and the lack of due diligence on the planning department's part. The county planners have the ability and, in fact, the responsibility to evaluate all aspects of a rezoning application before making a recommendation to the commissioners. To allow 5 houses per acre next to 5 acres per house is not really compatible land use. This is a perfect example of how the comprehensive plan, no matter how well-intentioned, needs to take a backseat to common sense and reasonability. So I think if you're looking for something to hang your hat on tonight, the issue is the comprehensive plan. Mr. White has said that we can't take things, parts of sentences out of the comprehensive plan and try to use them to our own ends. I agree with that to a certain extent, but many of these sentences say, must protect, must protect, must protect. That is a part of all the different sentences that we have pulled out this evening to put in front of you. If the comprehensive plan then is not to protect the citizens and the neighborhoods and the integrity of what we have in Tallahassee, then it needs to be rewritten so that all we have to do is check a box. So there is more to it than checking a box, and I must disagree with you, Mr. White, on that point. The fact that county planners could even recommend such an action demonstrates a lack of understanding about the charge of the comprehensive plan. Regrettably, they've passed that burden on to you all this evening, and I don't believe they've done their due diligence. If approved, you risk setting further precedent for incompatible land use throughout Leon County without proof of reasonableness and regard for the mission of the comprehensive plan. So let it not be said that the only canopies remaining in Tallahassee are over the roads and that you were responsible. I ask you to please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
J.C. Carboneau, apologies if I didn't get that right, to be followed by Mark Klawinski.
Wave of support. Mr. Carboneau waves of support.
Gotcha.
All right, Mark, say it again. Lewinsky? Lewinsky. Mark Lewinsky waves of support. Yes, sir.
Bob Carver to be followed by Francis Harrell.
Mr. Carver, name and address for record, please, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to hear our side. I'm Bob Carver, 3060 Jamie Road, immediate past president of Riverwood Neighborhood Association for 10 years. And congratulations to the gentleman that's now going to take us to the next level, Brother Willie Meggs. You do have a protection of neighborhoods that is the responsibility of this commission to do. RA does not need to be fixed. They're one single home per acre, 32 homes. Riverwood Acres, where I live, has 77 homes, of which 12 are single-family homes on 1 acre. and those homes are just as beautiful as those sitting on 2.5 or 5 acres. So those 77 homes, together with the 24 that's on Maddox and Flat, do not need to be adversely impacted by a change to retire someone's debt. You're going to change the complexion of the neighborhood that we've all been in. We have been there for 34 years. We've built those homes, we've protected them. We coexist with wetlands. We made sure the properties, in fact, Leon County would not let me build on the back half of my property because it was wetlands. It's a recharge area. When you change the complexion of the highest hill in the neighborhood, which is where these 32 homes are going to be, you're going to increase the stormwater drain off. You're going to see it going east and west. East, it's headed to Lake Jackson because it's going through the reservoir at 600 feet to the east. When it comes west, it's going to come to Flat Road and it's going to come to Maddox. Guess where those two roads, which are county maintained, currently has their stormwater come through? Our neighborhood, on its track to the Ochlockonee River. You're going to enhance that because you're going to remove all the trees to put 160 homes on 32 acres. We have 1 home per acre of those 12 homes. You solve this issue by simply voting no on the need for change to protect the neighborhoods, and you shouldn't be allowed to retire your debt by changing the neighborhood. So in all due respect, I request you to vote against this.
Francis Harold to be followed by Francis Harold to be followed by Michelle Knight.
Francis Harold waives his support.
Michelle Knight to be followed by Michael Green.
Knight, name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Michelle Knight, and I live at 4804 Lakely Drive. My dad actually is a member of your church, and his property backs up to already a flooding problem out in this area. And we have had constant contact with the county over this issue. And it is because of a neighborhood being built behind the neighborhood that is directly across the street from your church on Fred George Way. I'm going to just read, I had sent an email to each of you. I appreciate you all taking your time tonight and being very patient with us all. My name is Michelle Knight. I reside at 4804 Lakely Drive. My parents purchased property in the same neighborhood at 4731 Knollwood Drive in 1973, 2 years before I was born. 2 months, I'm sorry. I was making myself young again. They purchased their property the same as my husband and I did, and that was to live in a rural community with plenty of wildlife, beautiful wooded land, and private community with caring neighbors. I can remember neighbors riding their horses up and down Capitol Circle Northwest, alligators being the only traffic jam, and turkeys crossing in the fields in the fall, and so many baby frogs emerging from which is now the greenway that you were scared to walk out your door because you would step on them. Due to the overgrown population in this area and buildings of homes and buildings being built, every open piece of land that is no longer, it's all going away, all the open land's going away. A resident of the Woodbriar community was on a conversation on social media and was surprised to learn her home was built on wetlands. When she referred to the flooding swamp outside of Woodbriar that was downhill from her community, she was then surprised when I told her that that community was the same level as the swamp at one time. After the community was built, the city shut down Fred George Road for a week to place a culvert under Fred George Road, which would redirect the water to the other side of the road, which is now the county property. And that has now flooded to the back of my dad's property. And I think you all have the video of where all that has flooded over his dam and into his pond, and it's been an ongoing, so if this is done, it's going to be an ongoing, you're going to be contacting the county to come out for the flooding.
That's your time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Michael Green to be followed by Jill Green.
I waive in support.
Michael Green raises support. Next speaker.
Jill Green to be followed by Michael Nisley.
Jill Green raises support. Next speaker.
Michael Nisley to be followed by Chris Reber.
Name and address for record, please, sir.
Michael Nisley, I live at Capitol Circle Northwest. My property, my house actually faces the driveway that goes into Northwoods Church. So every car that comes in and out, we see that. But I want to start with saying that, we do love the people at Northwoods and appreciate the community events that you guys have had. And, I do see the benefit that, and it's sad to see that finances sometimes just sort of interrupt what we're trying to do. But I want to ask, how many of you guys live within a mile of the church? Can I see your hands? Within a mile. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how about 2 miles? 3 miles. Okay, so direct impact is really not impacting this church. Our properties border the church. And I don't think any of you guys' property borders the church property. That being said, the verbiage, I guess it's Mr. White, did you guys get an expectation of protection for the character of our community? I mean, did you see the expectation in the verbiage? I'm asking you that. In the verbiage, I expected protection for our community, the character of our community and all that. However, the legal terms, which I don't always understand because I'm not an attorney, sort of check the boxes. But all the verbiage that wasn't legal did not check the boxes. And so that's just a little deceiving in the sense of what our expectations are as just property owners adjacent to something looking at a comprehensive plan. I'll say that when the property was sold, I don't think if they had mentioned anything about developing a subdivision and, hey, we want it R3 high density or whatever, I realize when people sell property, it is sometimes a handshake and it's not always what you get what you expect. However, this was for community benefit. It was expected to be for the benefit of the community. And so I am opposed to it. I do sympathize with people, with the financial situation, but it should not be on the backs of the neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. So from here on out, next speaker, and as the speaker comes up, before the speaker comes up, when you speak directly to the commission. You are not allowed to address questions to the audience or to anybody else, but you can speak directly to the commission on any grievance that you have, whether you're in support or in opposition. Is that correct, Madam Attorney?
That is correct.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Chris Reber to be followed by Tricia Pate.
Chris Reber waiving support.
Tricia Pate to be followed by Perry McMillan. Perry McClellan.
Ms. Pate, name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Tricia Mix Pate, and I live on Riverwood Road. I've lived there since 1998. Before that, I lived on Flat Road since 1976 or 77 when my childhood home. I'm also a member of Northwoods, so this is very hard, and it's been a horrible experience, but we are very much opposed to this, and other members of Northwoods are too. And as a citizen, this has been awful. I don't know if the irony of this is lost on you, but we didn't get notice because of the rural nature of our neighborhood. The 1,000-foot circle only gave notice to 1 or 2 people at the Planning Commission meeting. And then the burden has been placed on us, not the petitioner. In normal courts of law, it's on the petitioner. It's been placed on us to prove competent, substantial evidence to show you why this is inconsistent. I'd like to point out a couple of things in the agenda presented to you on page 158 of the agenda notes. The planners say that the adjacent RP property has private deed restrictions that require lot sizes of over 2 acres, but those are not enforceable by the county. That's a legally misleading statement because restricted covenants on deeds are much stronger than zoning. You have the power to change a zoning requirement. You do not have the power to change a restricted covenant. So all those RP properties that have restricted covenants that limit the size and the abilities of the houses, you can't change that. They can't build 6 houses on those RP properties because there's a restricted covenant. And that is an inaccuracy. Although the planners acknowledge the restrictive covenants, then they say they're not enforceable. Well, they're not enforceable by the county. They're enforceable by a court of law. I'd also like to say that they relied heavily on the fact that the Northwoods has sewage. Northwoods didn't bring sewage through all of our neighborhoods. We're all wells and septic tanks all around there. All the RP and the RA and Riverwood and off of Deer Run and Wildwood communities, we're all wells and septic tanks. We don't have access to sewage. They didn't bring access to sewage. That change that's facilitating the zoning request was a change that affected them and them alone. No one else in the community has access to sewage or will get access to sewage, nor will Capitol Circle change. And if you looked on that water map and you see the wetlands on either side of Capitol Circle, DOT is not going to be able to compensate for the mitigation that would require for DEP to widen Capitol Circle. So for those reasons, and there's been no changes to our neighborhood. The only change to Maddox and Flat Road was when I was 10 and the county paved the road. We haven't had any changes. So the only change to facilitate the zoning request is an individual change to Northwood's property. So I would ask that you, respectfully ask that you oppose this. And it's only competent substantial evidence, and that's a very, very low threshold to meet. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Perry McClellan to be followed by Lisa Oderstone.
Name and address for record, please, sir. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Perry McClellan. I live at 3701 Capitol Circle Northwest, which is directly across from the church. And last week I went out and counted for an exact 1 hour, 1,778 vehicles. That is an average of 2.02 cars per second. How, and I'm a CDL driver. The rule is 2 seconds following distance. So how do you pull out in that? I mean, it's Russian roulette every morning. You're sitting there for 10 minutes trying to find a gap that you can pull out in. And with, just over 2 second gap, that's almost impossible in the mornings. And how can y'all approve something that the state has said they have no intention of fixing the infrastructure for the next 5 or 6 years, even looking at it. So how could we support another 200 to 600 houses, across the street? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. We are at 38 speakers. We have 20 left. Name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Good evening. This is Lisa Stone. I'm at 3074 Jamie Road. So I'm in Riverwood Acres, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I am totally opposed to the rezoning of the Northwoods Church property. I do have compassion for the situation that they're in. I wish I had a solution to offer, to help them, but I do not. My primary concern right now is for the quality of life for my family and for our neighborhood. My parents built their house in Riverwood Acres in the 80s. My aunt and uncle built their house in the neighborhood in the 80s. My husband and I built our house in that neighborhood in early 2000s. And then my daughter just recently, 3 years ago, bought a house in the neighborhood. I've counted 11 families in our neighborhood that have multiple family members that live there. We are a multi-generational family neighborhood. We want to preserve the quality of our life there. And yes, I am concerned about the environmental aspects. I'm concerned about the wildlife, the water tables. We've had issues with that. But my primary concern at this point is, like I said, the quality of life for my family. And I just want to, for us to be able to continue that, to continue to raise our families there for the safety. When you start building multiple, dwelling neighborhoods, you don't know what type of neighborhood it might turn out to be. And I'm concerned about the walk-through traffic, the crime. I'm also concerned about pulling out on Capitol Circle Northwest. I don't want my children pulling out, even now with grandchildren in the car or with my children. The way that the traffic is just horrendous. But I can't imagine what it will be like if this is added. There again, I do have sympathy. I have concern for the church. I've got family that attend the church. I have friends that attend the church. But for me, and number one concern for me is the quality of life for our families and for the neighborhood. And like I said, I have 11 families that have multiple generations that live in that neighborhood. I would be glad to provide those names if requested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Judy Meggs, to be followed by Pat Schwartz.
Meggs, name and address for the record when you get there, ma'am.
My name is Judy Meggs, and I live at 4000 Riverwood Road. And I don't speak nearly as well as my husband and my daughter do, but I'm going to try here. I wish I was as generous and gracious as some of these people have been to these folks that I called friends for years and years at Northwoods. But friends don't hurt friends. You don't put money above friendship. And this is what's happening here. We need the money because our building may fall apart. So we need the money. It doesn't matter if it hurts me. The gentleman spoke, I have 100 acres. My two girls don't have 100 acres. One of my girls can go outside. She can look out her back door. She can see fruit trees. She can see her fish pond. She can see her garden. Beautiful land. She goes and looks out the front door. In the close distance, she can see two houses. Over those houses, if this is built, all she will see is rooftops or backs of houses. The trees are all gone. That's not right to do. We paid good money, worked very hard to buy this type of property, not to want something like this. So it shouldn't be that just because somebody says, okay, it's all right because it meets these points, really should not be right that you would do this to us. Not you do this to us. Well, you may do it to us if you vote, I guess. But anyway, I just appeal to you to consider. And as I look at these folks, and know many of them, they don't live in a neighborhood like they're proposing to build. Most of them live on land with some acreage. And I've spoken to several of them there that are friends. They have gone to the pastor and said, don't do this to this neighborhood. Numerous church members have gone to them. And they still choose to do that because they need the money to pay off a debt. They're still able to make their payments on things. I would think they would have the thought that maybe God would provide another way instead of saying we love our neighbors, but doing this to our neighbors. I just hope that you will vote against it. And I guess I need to go get in my prayer closet because I've got some issues with all of this. So I thank you very much for y'all not considering this. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Pat Schwartz, to be followed by James Durbin.
Name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Pat Schwartz. I live at 5636 Mossy Top Way. And I want to thank Northwoods Church for the support they've given my family over the years. And I'm sorry that we're on opposing sides, but I still love you. My name is Pat Swartz, and I'm the president of the Lakewood Village Homeowners Association. There are 946 homes in the surrounding communities just north of the church property, which includes Lakewood Village, Shady Woods, Autumn Woods, Autumn Estates, Sterling Woods, and Lakewood Estates. We have lived in Lakewood Village since 1983 and purchased our home here in 1990. We take pride in our home and the tranquility of our neighborhood. The rezoning of the church property will certainly lead to the development of the land, which will in turn result in environmental problems. Rezoning to R2 for the purpose of developing a new residential neighborhood results in the loss of 20-plus acres of forest and 10-plus acres of an open field. The RA property that the church wants to rezone is surrounded, on three sides by wetlands, much of which is classified as flood zone. You'll be hearing tonight about the flooding. It's a major issue, and the homes of residents should not be placed at risk. Development of the land will add to the current flood issues that are frequently experienced in Lakewood Village communities, as well as Wildwood and Riverwood Acres neighbors. Specifically, the water that runs east from the highest point of the 32.1 acres will end up in Lake Jackson after passing through a privately protected wetland located only 650 feet across Capitol Circle and residents' properties that are already in flood zones in the Wildwood subdivision. The water that runs north from the church property will add to the flooding that already occurs in the Lakewood Village communities. Residents constantly experience standing water in their yards and ditches after heavy rain, leading to mosquito infestation. The water that runs west and south will impact the vast wetland area that already creates flooding issues for the Riverwood Acres neighborhood. Previous site plans for the area have indicated that flooding risks would be managed, yet each of the mentioned neighborhoods has flooding and drainage issues. Lastly, I'm concerned about what will happen to the community park on Stoneleigh Road if 300-plus homes are backed up to it, or 150, or however many it is. This park is used for ball games and practices, birthday parties, and just recently our annual Homeowners Association meeting. Technically, people are supposed to reserve the park for things. I wonder if that will still happen. Please support option 2 and do not approve the proposed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
James Durbin, to be followed by Jim Bruce.
Sorry.
Waived in opposition.
James Durbin?
Yes.
Waived in opposition.
Jim Bruce, to be followed by Jeff Arnold.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I'm Jim Bruce. I reside at 2108 Padlock. Me and my wife bought 3.5 acres in Riverwood Acres. We live just in the far back on the end of Padlock. My property butts up to the dead end of Stoneleigh. I'm a kind of a visual person, so you don't tell me something, I have to kind of visualize it. I cannot visualize 15 resident houses on my 3-acre property. It's just not fathomable to me. I retired from the police department over 10 years ago. When I built my house, I worked midnight shifts so I could go out and build on my house during the day. During that time, since I've moved in there, I would have to go to work. I would have to try to pull out off Maddox Road off the Capitol Circle. There were times that I had to turn on my overhead light, my blue lights, just to get somebody to stop to let me out, go to work so I wouldn't be late. Because, you know, people are inconsiderate. They won't stop. They're in a hurry to get to work like everybody else. If you go out in the afternoon, like this gentleman says, go out in the mornings and just count the cars. Go out in the afternoon and count the cars. They're backed up from one curve to the other of people going and coming to work, going home. This road will not handle the traffic that's going to be there. Right now, my only bad neighbors I have are the bears that get in my garbage and the hogs that tear up my yard. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen when you just got a whole bunch of people coming in out there that are not responsible. It's not going to be trying to be polite about this, but it's not going to be the kind of neighbors you would really want. So, I don't have anything against Northwoods. Northwoods did one of the best things that ever happened in my life. I'm involved with the Florida Baptist Disaster Relief. I go out and I help clean up after tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, floods. The first time I went was after Hurricane Katrina. We went to Laurel, Mississippi, and I went with this group. That's the best thing, and one of the best things they've done for me in my life. I don't have anything against them, but this is just something. I'm involved right now. We built a new building in our church, new fellowship hall. We stepped out on faith, believing that God is going to provide for us. And I hope that's what you did when you built this building. Okay? You got to believe that God's going to provide for you. And this is not the way to do it when you're going to hurt your neighbors.
Mr. Time, sir. Thank you. Next speaker.
Jeff Arnold to be followed by Susan Arnold.
Jeff Arnold waives in opposition.
Susan Arnold.
Susan Arnold waives in opposition.
Dan Swartz to be followed by Ronnie Crum.
Name and address for record, please, sir.
My name's Daniel Swartz. I'm a retired school teacher and retired from the National Guard, and I was a member of Northwoods when I came in. I enjoyed shaking your hands, and you will always be my friends. You'll always be my friends. I think the biggest thing I want to say, you've heard about the infrastructure, you've heard about all the issues of the roads and the drainage. I think the biggest divider here is who lives in that area that's going to be affected. And as it was pointed out, there are a lot of people here that love to see them wherever they're at, but most of them don't live and aren't going to be affected by that same infrastructure as what these people over here and ourselves will be affected by. And I just stand in opposition to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Ronnie Crum to be followed by Craig Pate.
Name and address for record, please, sir.
Yes, my name is Ronnie Crum. I live at 4097 Riverwood Road, Tallahassee, Florida, of course. And I'm here to oppose it when I got my sticker on it. And I understand where you're coming from. You make bad decisions. But we just shouldn't pay for your bad decision. No, we shouldn't pay for it. You pay for your own bad decision. Because I've made some in my lifetime, and you know what? I paid for the decisions that I made. Nobody paid for them for me. But I feel bad that it happened, but we're going to have to move forward with this. And what's happening right here, if you do this, that R2 is going to be like 160 houses. And then you're going to have what? 2 cars at least per household. That's 320. And it's going to be more than that. You can assure me, I can assure you, it's going to be a lot more than 320. And it's like you've heard them say, you can't get out on Capitol Circle Northwest there. It's bad. It's really bad. And I've been living there since '88, so I know how it comes and goes. And it's getting a lot worse on that one. And I hear them talk about the wildlife. I understand about the wildlife. But the 3 things that I'm concerned big about is your crime. That'll be the number 1 thing it's going to hit. When you come into this, 5 or 6 houses, you're going to have a bunch of people in there. It could be your low income. It could be anybody renting a house. And you know what's going to happen then? It's going to get bad. Do y'all live in a bad neighborhood? You better hope you don't. Because if you do, you're going to see what it's like. So I'm just telling you right now, you better vote no for this. Because if you do vote yes, what goes around will come around. And you've heard that. It will. You'll be looking one day and you'll say, I didn't know what that crumb boy meant. Was he from Crawfordville? No. I'm from way out of here. But, again, the crime is the number one thing that's going to happen here. Traffic is the next one, like I told you about. And next thing is going to be the land value and our home values. It's going to be bad. Bad, bad, bad. It'll only get worse. So, what I'm saying here right now is that the traffic, the crime, and the home values is going to be really, really bad. And like I said, I've lived on an acre and a half mine, and I can't imagine putting 5 houses on my acre. I can't imagine putting 5. It's just too close. It's just too close to be around there.
That's your time, sir.
So all I can tell you is I feel bad for you, but I think you just sort of just pick up and do something. I'm not making fun, but maybe you could do it this way.
Thank you, sir. It's your time.
Yes, time's up?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give them one thing. I'm going to give them an option, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Play the lottery. You may win.
Next speaker.
Craig Pate, to be followed by Ashley Hunter.
Yes,
Name and address
Craig
for record,
Pate,
please.
4029 Riverwood Road. Also a member of Northwood, so yes, this has been a very hard time for us. But I'm a simple guy. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to talk about site plans or comp plans or RAs or R3s or bingo numbers or something. I'm just going to say I'm simple. You have a property owner in a neighborhood would like to change his property to make it more valuable. But yet that change affects all the surrounding properties in that neighborhood in a negative way. So I think the simple is it's an easy answer. So no. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Ashley Hunter, to be followed by Judy McClellan.
Ms. Hunter, name and address for record, please, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Ashley Hunter. I live at 5723 Don Hunter Road. And if it's not obvious by the name, it's a family road. Over 50 years ago, my great-grandfather moved to Tallahassee and bought a big parcel of land for him to raise his family on. On that property, we've raised animals, we've raised sugarcane, produced sugarcane. We've done everything on that property that we can to make it a home and make it a heritage property for the grandchildren like myself to eventually own. I know a lot of people have talked about the statistics and the different numbers, and that's not what I'm up here for. I'm up here to talk about choice. That over 50 years ago, my great-grandfather made a choice to put his family out in the country. That is a choice that every generation after him, by remaining on that property, has tried to preserve. That is a choice that everyone who is in opposition has likewise made. We are choosing to live in a rural area or a lower population area for our families, for our lifestyles, and that choice is being threatened by another person's choice. The choice of one is impacting the choice of many. I don't see the fairness in that, and I don't see the justice in that, and that many people's lifestyle choices will be upended and ruined because somebody couldn't pay their debt. And it's unfortunate. When I was young, my family attended Northwoods. I was baptized at Northwoods. I have fond feelings for Northwoods. But I have fonder feelings for my family. If this goes through, my grandfather will no longer be able to go out after dinner and feed all the deer. He has them all named. He will no longer be able to go out and watch birds. This will have a ripple effect that will first impact the properties that are right close, but will eventually affect everyone who has made a choice to pursue a lifestyle that this property, this rezoning, will completely change. And like I said, I don't see the justice or the fairness or the value of that, of ruining other people's lives, properties that generations have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into, just because one person couldn't pay their debt. And that is it.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Judy McClellan, to be followed by Deborah Henderson.
Wave to oppose.
Judy McClellan waves to oppose. Next speaker.
Deborah Henderson, to be
Deborah Henderson waves to oppose. Next speaker.
Thias Wilson,
Ms. Wilson, name and address for record, please, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
to be followed by Deshaun Jackson.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Thais Wilson. Pat, our neighborhood association president, stated that there are 948 homes in the surrounding neighborhoods that would be directly impacted. The Planning Commission did the bare minimum, communicating to 148 homes within 1,000 feet of Northwoods. They did the bare minimum to check a box. What about the neighboring protection? We are in a desperate need of a 4-lane road and sidewalks. Protect the people who walk and bike to Fred George Park to counter the genetically modified foods that we are eating. Protect the prevention of the 6 car accidents that have happened in front of Northwoods Church all the way down to Fred George since 2023 has started less than 2 months ago. Protect the family of deer that the young lady's, Miss Hunter's grandfather, I'm sure probably named one of them Joe. I passed by Joe this morning going to work. It doesn't sound like Northwoods has a money problem. It sounds like they are getting left behind because due to membership and a lack of outreach, that's their biggest problem. The current infrastructure for the 2-lane road on Capitol Circle Northwest is already bursting at the seams. The City of Tallahassee, Florida Department of Transportation has widened the roads of Capitol Circle Northeast, Capitol Circle Southeast, Capitol Circle Southwest, and we still are neglected with 2-lane roads. So with 5 family units on an acre, you're talking about what everybody's saying, anywhere between 400 and 600 additional cars fighting to get on the road. And I kept hearing Mr. White and the Planning Commission talk about low density. What the heck is low density with 5 houses on an acre? I live on almost an acre, and I have 2 teenagers and a husband. That sure as hell is not low density in that house. Thank you.
You still got a few minutes. If you want to use it. Next speaker.
Deshaun Jackson, to be followed by Latrenda Jackson.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Deshaun Jackson, 917 Tamarack Avenue. So the purpose of this rezoning is to relieve our church of the debt burden that we face. It is not for the purpose of defeating a neighborhood, destroying wildlife, or any other far-fetched ideas of ill intentions. It is also worth mentioning that all of the negative impacts mentioned would only take place if the land was fully developed after rezoning, which the church has no plans on doing. Therefore, these issues remain hypothetical. As stated earlier, the rezoning will be done in preparation of a future where the church deems it necessary to sell the land. It is not done with the intention of building properties that would worsen traffic or not have the integrity to support pipes or anything else. And with that being said, I would like to conclude by saying I have heard and somewhat understand the concerns, but I believe they will never have the chance to come into fruition.
Next speaker.
Latrenda Jackson, to be followed by William Schroyer.
Name and address for record, please, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Latrenda Jackson, 917 Tamarack Avenue. All right, my previous home was Split Oak Lane in Sterling Woods area of Lakewood Village, which backs one of the neighborhoods that was currently mentioned, so I'm familiar with the traffic. That area is zoned currently RP and allows up to 6 homes per acre. My current house is in the Town and Country neighborhood, which is RP1, which allows 3.6 houses per acre and backs up to Old Bainbridge, so I'm familiar with traffic there. However, I don't blame the homeowners for the traffic that we encounter when going on to Old Bainbridge. My neighborhood doesn't require acre lots, and it doesn't have high levels of crime either, just because we have so many houses per acre. Low-density housing is 0 to 8. It doesn't matter what opinion is, it matters what the government decides. We are here for the consideration of rezoning an area of land to an around 4.8 per acre, not building of a subdivision at this time. If a land sale is approved by the church congregation and a purchase happens, I trust that the appropriate county officials will consider the neighbor's opposition at the development stage, not at this time, which is simply for rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, William Schwarter, followed by Kevin Gamble. Name and address for record, please, sir, and I hope I didn't butcher your name too much.
Not too bad. Name's Bill Schroyer. I live at 4121 McLeod Drive in northwest Tallahassee. I would like to start by thanking the planning department that's been so maligned today for the work they've done. And going through the documentation, there were over 1,200 pages on this one item. And I thought that they did an outstanding job of sorting fact from fiction and putting it all where it should be. I thank Mr. Meigs also for pointing out earlier and showing on the map the amount of wetlands around this area. When you look at the wetlands around there, you can very clearly see that there's not going to be that much more development in that area because you're not going to allow building on wetlands. The 32 acres that we're asking to rezone would have a maximum of 157 homes. That's not counting easements, roads, and other items that have to be contended with in that. So there's going to be actually a lot less than 157 homes built, if in fact they ever get built. So I wanted to point out that you'll end up with like 120 homes maybe in that area by the time you've added all that together. So that's not going to add the load to the highway that they seem to think it's going to add. And because of the wetlands around there, the density is not going to increase to the point where the traffic's going to be worse than it is today. I would, however, think that they might want to talk to the State Department of Transportation about the roads if the traffic is that bad on there, to ask them to move up their plans to 4-lane it. But that are my thoughts for the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Gamble, followed by David Reber. Kevin Gamble, waves of support. Dave Reber, waves of support. I believe this is it Olga Barrows? Olga Barrows, waves of support. Jim Barrows? Jim Barrows, waves of support. Carl Vizen. Carl Vizen, raising support. Ben Tumblin. Ben Tumblin, ways of support. Brenda Tumblin. Brenda Tumblin, ways of support. Alicia Longshore. Alicia Longshore, ways of support. Brandon Jett. Brandon Jett, waves of support. Todd Sapp.
Sorry, I hate to break the chain, but
Todd Sapp, waves of support.
I just wanted to clarify one thing about motivation, because during the cross-examination, there was word of an email that apparently was sent to me saying that we'd have a better chance of getting our rezoning passed if we changed to R2. I can promise you, I have not seen that email. I did not read the email. I'm not saying it wasn't sent. Very well could have been. The reason we changed from R3 to R2 is because we do care about our neighbors. We know their concern was the density issue. When we met with the leadership of the neighborhood, they told us that they had unanimous surveys saying that they would fight against us as hardly against R2 as they would R3. So at that point, we said, well, if it's not going to do any good, if it's not going to express any love because doesn't affect them in any way, then we'll just stay with R3. But when we got the actual surveys, we realized there were not many, because there were hundreds of surveys, and only 2 of them said, we will not oppose R2. But based on those 2 people, we just thought, you know what, if that will help those 2 people, then why not do it? Why not change? Why not make a move toward the neighborhood for the sake of those 2 people? And then one neighbor from across the street came over and visited me, and he's a realtor. He had seen the signs, and he had the same thoughts. He said, you know what, if y'all are moving to R2, then that's a perfect compromise. You have made a move toward the neighborhood that should engender you some at least understanding that the church is doing what they can to be good, kind, and loving neighbors.
Thank you, sir. Kenley Stringer. Name and address for record, please, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Kenley Stringer, 3401 Robin Hood Road. I'm glad Todd broke the chain. I am a real estate broker vocationally. I'm also a former 25-year member of Northwoods Church and still a resident of Northwest Tallahassee. And I'd like to address just 2 points. One, that it keeps being equivocated that this rezoning request automatically means high-density housing development. And I feel it bears reiterating, though it has been said multiple times, that there are multiple other stages and phases that have to be progressed through in order for that to actually materialize in eventuality, if it is going to be. And similar type of processes and hearings are held throughout that whole process. But something that I have to address head on as a professional, because it is simply a farce, is that new construction development very rarely negatively affects the perceived quality or the desirability of an existing subdivision. From a statistical perspective, the desirability, the character, the quality of a neighborhood can all be interpreted by its valuation, right? People are willing to put money toward what they believe is desirable. And statistically speaking, new development adjoining an existing subdivision typically has an uplift effect on existing development. Were this a community that would thread through existing neighborhoods in Riverwood or in Deerwood across the road and increase traffic and density of traffic in the existing subdivisions, that should certainly be something that would be considered. The traffic on Capitol Circle Northwest is something that has to be considered in any site plan that is proposed, and would be something too, privately, the developer considering actually building any housing stock on this parcel would have to consider, because it's going to affect the desirability for those individual housing units. But just like to put out there, because most don't realize, the current existing new construction home in Leon County on average is over $500,000. If there was residential construction on this parcel, it would not be low-income housing. These would not be Section 8 rentals. They would not be what people are fear-mongering will exist. It would instead be a much-needed boost to the Northwest community in conflating tax base, in supporting schools, in supporting existing and proposed restaurants and shopping, and overall be a net benefit effect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Susan Vincent. Name and address for record, please, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Susan Vincent. I live at 4598 Ramsgate Drive, which is in Foxcroft, which is a neighborhood that's similar to what would be built in this neighborhood. And it's a fabulous place. I've lived there since my children were young. I love it. It's not high crime. I don't know what's being talked about here as us trying to bring in a neighborhood that will adversely affect these neighbors. I want to address a couple of things I've heard, one of which is whether or not we've approached this with prayer. As a matter of fact, we've been very reluctant. We've been considering off and on for years selling this property or any piece of property. We've been doing our best to reduce the debt. We've done all types of, just recently, for the last few years, we've been soliciting donations from our congregation to pay down the debt, to reduce the interest on it, and we've made some headway. We did really good. We're just not done with it. We know we need a new building. We know that the funds have to be used better than they're being used now. We can't afford the staff we would like. We can't afford the outreach we would like. We can't afford to advertise the events the way we would like to. All these things are impacted by the budget. We love our church. We love our neighbors. We hope that they'll come to the events we plan. We're not doing this in any fashion. If anything, we're bending over backwards to try to find ways to compromise and trying to make this a happy moment for all of us. We'd rather not sell. As Todd has said, our pastor has said, we hold these plans loosely. We pray that God will make a change that makes this not possible. The last thing we want to do is make our neighbors unhappy with us. So I just want you to know that's how we all feel at Northwoods. We are not happy to have to sell property. We would much rather have been able to continue with our original plan. The extra easement that's being offered, the ability for people who live nearby to buy the property, not necessarily selling it all to one developer, are all on the table. We just want you to understand that this is not coming from a place of desperate need, but from a place of being fiscally responsible. If we did have to go under, all of this land would go up for sale, and that would be a huge negative impact on the neighbors. And we don't want that. We don't want that for them, and we don't want that for us. Just want you to know what we're thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, coming in the last minute, Crystal Hall. Wave in opposition. We made it through 58 speakers. What I want to do is I want to thank you all for being cordial. I want to thank you all for your decorum. This is a hot issue, as you can tell with so many different speakers. You were passionate, but you were indeed respectfully of one another, and that's all I could have asked for as chairman of this board, and this board could have asked for. As you demand from us decorum, we demanded it from you, and you delivered, and I appreciate that. Now, we're going to go to commissioner discussion. Am I correct, Madam Attorney? So, commissioners, as policy says, I'm going to recognize the commissioner make a motion first. Before we get there, I do want to be clear with the attorney, and I want all of you to understand the threshold that we're under. We have to, this is not an opinion thing, we have to be able to find something substantive that goes against those 6 points that were made earlier that staff articulated, correct, Madam Attorney?
Whatever decision the board makes, whether it's approval or denial, it has to be based on competent, substantial evidence in the record, and the board has to make those findings on the record.
On the record. Okay, so commissioners, I'm looking for a motion for options 1 or a motion for options 2. And also, after you make your motion, if you get a second, I'll need an explanation for especially if you go with option 2 as to why we're going with option 2. I have Commissioner Proctor in queue to speak. I'm hoping you make your motion first because I can't recognize you for anything else.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, consistent with what I've heard this afternoon and finding no bases, Commissioners, in 6 items that we were given, I'd like to make the motion of staff's recommendation, which incorporates the Planning Commission and their findings, and to move for option 1.
Option 1 has been moved by Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Welch. And we'll move now into commissioner discussion. I'll give everybody an opportunity to speak. I would like to go through just once. I have no one in queue to speak. If I have no one that's going to be in queue to speak, I'm going to go directly to a vote. I have Commissioner O'Keefe, then I have Commissioner Welch, then I have Commissioner Minor. Commissioner O'Keefe, you have the floor.
Chairman, if it's okay with you, since this is in Commissioner Minor's district, can I let him go before me?
Commissioner Minor, you have the floor. Commissioner Welch, do you yield as well? Yeah. Commissioner Minor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners O'Keefe and Welch. Our job as county commissioners is to make the best decisions that we can using the information that we have to make this community better. We do our part to improve the quality of life for the people who live here. Whatever the result of the vote tonight, some people will be upset. And this is extremely difficult for me. I've been on the county commission for about 4 years, and this is probably one of the most difficult decisions I've had to make, because over the last 8 months, I've had a chance to meet many of you from both sides. Pastor Sapp and the elders and the members of the church, are good people. I know they are trying to work in good faith to come up with something that is a good resolution. I know many of the neighbors. I've met the neighbors. I've known some of them for years. I've met many additional neighbors over the last 8 months. They're good people too. And also, I wanted to, while I'm at it, I wanted to recognize Artie White and his planning team. He came out at one of the early neighborhood meetings that we had, and has been very involved in this. And regardless of whether or not I agree with him and the planning department and the planning commission tonight, I want to say right now that he's working in good faith. He's doing his job. He is talented, and he's doing the best he can for this community. I believe that. I may not agree with him. I might agree with him. I may not. But I want to stick up for Mr. White and for his team and for the Planning Commission, because my knowledge of them, my experience with them, leads me to believe that they're all working to try to make this community better. Like I said, over the past 8 months, I've met with neighbors who live near the property. I've met with the pastor, elders of the church. I see no malicious intent on either side. The church has the right to file a rezoning application for property that it owns. The neighbors are deeply concerned about the effects of that request, and they have the right to speak up, make those concerns known, and advocate for their positions. While studying this item, I found several excerpts in the comp plan which I think are important and relevant. And here are 2 examples. In the comp plan introduction, we have the following. And I quote, "It's the intent of the plan to maintain the integrity of existing neighborhoods while encouraging new residential developments to incorporate a wider range of non-residential uses." In the land use element, we have goal 1, and I say this in its entirety. The comprehensive plan shall protect and enhance the quality of life in this community by providing economically sound educational, employment, cultural, recreational, commercial, industrial, and professional opportunities to its citizens, while channeling inevitable growth into locations and activities that protect the natural and aesthetic environments and residential neighborhoods. So to boil that down, we have 2 key phrases: maintaining the integrity of existing neighborhoods and protecting the natural and aesthetic environments and residential neighborhoods. These are qualitative phrases, of course. They're hard to measure, and nevertheless, I point them out because they set a tone for what the comp plan is for. In the comp plan, we do have a more tangible statement in policy 1.71. This is a quote, "Some low-density residential areas may be restricted to limited density zoning due to existing development patterns or environmental or utility constraints, while other areas may have zoning districts that allow for a broad range of density." This, in my view, should give the County Commission the ability to consider the existing development in the area as a criterion for compatibility. Another point, in the Planning Commission agenda materials from June 7th, 2022, there was an omission of a small part of adjacent property that is zoned RA. It's about 1 acre. In the Planning Commission meeting materials in Table 3, the southern boundary of the property in question is denoted as having RP zoning, not the additional small portion of RA. The RA property was, in fact, noted verbally in response to a question by one of the planning commissioners at the meeting. Nevertheless, it's now impossible to really determine whether the written omission in the materials themselves would have resulted in a different recommendation from the Planning Commission. Since the vote was 3-1, a reasonable person could assume that it could have. And so I'm taking that into consideration regarding the Planning Commission's recommendation on this item. And that small portion of RA zoned property does have some degree of impact, in my mind, on the questions of compatibility. For these reasons and some others, I was planning to support option 2, and I will vote against the motion on the table. I know this is going to make people upset, and it really pains me to do that. As you all know, we've all been working and talking about this for 8 months. But I've got to follow what I think is the right thing to do. There are people who disagree with me on this, but as a commissioner, I've got to do what I think is right and try to do the best I can with the information I have to make the best decision. So that's my statement, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Artie White, and thank you to Willie Meggs, and to the church, and to everyone who's taken your time to comment tonight. This is going to be a little long-winded for the reasons that were discussed by the county attorney of having put my reasoning on the record. And let's see if I can make everybody and every party upset with me in one statement. So we discussed, and there are next steps for development where there's a development process. But we are at the point where this commission is tasked with approving or not a zoning change. And while we are to do it based on the rules and relying on the expertise of our planning department, this step is here for a reason. There is not a rubber stamp or anything like that. This is the task we are tasked with. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. We are to do so by reasoning based on competent, substantial evidence placed on the record, and that is described as sufficiently relevant and material that a reasonable mind would accept it as adequate to support the conclusion reached. I like to think of myself as having a reasonable mind, and that's perhaps how most of us got here. Things that do not go factor into zoning decisions: a church's financial position, the neighbor's home preferences, or how long ago they bought their home, or what they planned their home and neighbors would be like. It isn't to be based on what surrounding neighborhoods fear about multifamily housing. And as much as I want to spend all my time defending multifamily housing, in which I live, in the neighborhood I live in, and that I think gets a bad rap for just for reasons that aren't really accurate. In fact, I think if the single-family neighbors in my association had any choice at a meeting like this, they wouldn't want the very townhouse I live in built. But that's not factoring in this zoning decision. We are to, from the comp plan, we are to preserve, protect, and enhance the quality of life for all citizens. That includes not only neighbors, that includes all citizens, including those who would want to purchase a home that we have an adequate supply of, which we do not yet. And it is the intent, quote, to maintain the integrity of existing neighborhoods. Now, when it comes to the factual point, land use compatibility, will the proposal result in any incompatible land uses considering the type and location of uses involved? My conclusion, based on the evidence provided in the information by the planning staff and in comments particularly from Mr. Meggs, is that approving this would result in incompatible land uses as follows. When we look at the maps, we see all or almost all of the surrounding areas with housing developed on it is RP. There are mentioned R3 and other zones, but there's nothing on it. And so when I read this about being compatible with the use, the actual use right now is all developed in RP. And I came in here thinking to myself, well, why is that? You had a large area to the west that's referenced in the documents of R3, which I learned today was recently rezoned in 2018 from RA, which isn't even lower than RP. And it is not developed, partially it looks like, because it's mostly wetlands, and they could never put anything on it. Then if you look on the other side, the adjacent, if we look at the area north of the church that's zoned R3, it is completely a body of water. And unless you're putting on stilts, nothing's happening there. And so the only actual building used where something exists in the area is the R3, at R3, is the church facility where it operates right now. And for those reasons, I would like to take the new commissioner privilege here, make a substitute motion that we consider option 2 and deny the request.
Option 2 has been moved by Commissioner O'Keefe. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Minor. I have Commissioner Welch and Commissioner Caban and Commissioner Cummings in queue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank everybody for taking your time to come out here. I look at these types of issues And I certainly appreciate the district commissioner's opinion and difficult spot that he's put in. But when I look at confrontational issues like this, I try to be as objective as possible. I say routinely that I don't have the luxury of subjectivity in this position. I have to look at the facts as they lie. We all know Gary Zirin very well. He's a good friend of ours. He works with our commission and has for a long time. I understand that Gary doesn't want this rezoning to occur, but I don't have the luxury of just voting because I like Gary. The reason that we have this process is because this is the process, and as frustrating as it may be for the impacted residents, applicants have rights as well, and that's why we have this process. And that's why we have to have competent, substantial evidence. Evidence relied upon must be fact-based, real, material, pertinent, and relevant. Moreover, if the board denies the rezoning request, such denial must include a determination on the record that maintaining the existing conditions furthers a legitimate public purpose. We have to make objective and fair decisions when we look at these types of things. Now, we can talk about how the process might need to be changed, but that's not what we're here for. The process is what it is. The compatibilities are based on the current zoning, not the current build-out. All right, if we want to go back and say, well, the fact that the neighboring properties are zoned, they're zoned at higher densities than this property that is seeking rezoning. That may not be how they're built, and that may not be how their covenants allow them to be worked on, but at the end of the day, that's not how this process plays out. There's criteria that our planning staff, who are also operating objectively, they have no, dog in the fight, so to speak. They're just trying to apply the rules that we have fairly and objectively. And so for me, that is where I come with the position of not being able to support the option 2 that is on the table, because I feel like as our process is written, we are not providing competent and substantial evidence. I think we are putting our county attorney and our legal staff and potentially our board in legal jeopardy by doing that. Because again, I understand the emotion. I understand the fear. I disagree wholeheartedly with some of the statements that were made tonight by some of the residents that crime is going to infest this area and that by building we are somehow ruining the quality of life of neighboring communities. I think that's unfair, and I don't think that's objective. I think that's emotional, and we don't have that luxury. So for me, I feel like the right thing to do is to approve the rezoning. I think that there were a lot of very fair statements that were made in support of the rezoning in regards to there are still stops in the process for this to go through, many, many hoops. You know, when we talk about development in this community, it's interesting because it depends on where it is and how people react. Developers will tell you it's very hard to get a permit in this community, but everybody else tells you that you're giving away the farm to developers. When the reality is, developers have a substantial process they have to go to that will address water quality, that will address traffic, that will address school concurrency. These are very well thought out, long-standing and developed processes that are objective. Now again, if we want to change the way we look at these things, we can do that, but nobody's proposing that at this point. Like I said, maybe we should look at the actual uses of the property as opposed to what they're zoned for. But our planning staff, which is not made up of just one person, it's made up of a group of professionals who do this stuff all the time, are telling us as policymakers, as a jury essentially in this quasi-judicial proceeding, that this meets those criteria and those criteria are objective. So for that reason, I cannot support the motion on the table. Thank you.
Commissioner Caban.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who took the time and spoke, and I know we've been here for a few hours, and thank you for the cordial dialogue. Additionally, I want to commend my colleague, Commissioner Minor, for taking the time to work with the church and the residents to try and find a compromise. I think that's a great attribute to have in your district commissioner. I've looked over everything in its entirety, the agenda materials, the ex parte communications. I've listened to all the presentations. The proposed rezoning follows the current comprehensive plan. It's in the urban services area, and I believe there is substantial evidence to support the rezoning. Additionally, the area that is proposed for rezoning is very close to my district, which is District 2. It's about 2 miles from it on a direct route via Capitol Circle Road. I have an obligation to serve the residents of my district, and I believe by supporting this small residential development, I'm doing just that. First and foremost, creating more housing by increasing density within the urban services area prevents unneeded sprawl and starts to chip away at one of our community's biggest issues, which is affordable housing. Secondly, this type of development has potential to stimulate current businesses and further economic development on Capitol Circle Road, which travels directly through the heart of my district. I understand that some neighbors do not want this, and I'm empathetic towards that. But the information they have provided is relevant. I just do not believe that it is relevant at this time in the process. In closing, I believe the evidence supports the rezoning, but I do want to ask a rhetorical question. Over the next 10 years, our community is supposed to have an influx of 30,000 residents moving to Leon County. If we do not support this rezoning to increase density within the urban services area, mind you, this is a very low density residential development with no multifamily, then where are we supposed to grow as a community in the future? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I begin, point of clarification. We had a motion on the floor to adopt option 1.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we have another motion to adopt option 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the first motion have to be rescinded or amended? We just have 2 motions pending?
We'll take up the substitute motion first, and if the substitute motion fails, we'll go to the main motion.
Okay, so the second motion is dubbed the substitute motion.
We'll be taken up first.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, I certainly want to thank the members of the church. I want to thank the property owners, Attorney Miggs, and all of those that took the time to come out tonight to speak to this commission. This is clearly the democratic process, and we appreciate you all being involved in the democratic process. I also want to thank the county administrator and his staff, of the Planning Commission, Mr. White, for all the hard work and analysis that they did on this particular issue. To be honest and plain with you, from a factual standpoint, just reading the material, listening to your various positions, it's very emotional. And we sitting here as a commission, it's not easy. I believe if we were charged with allowing our motions to resolve this issue, it wouldn't be that tough. But as commissioners, we have rules, regulations. The Planning Commission has its set of rules. We have a comprehensive plan that has to be followed. We are a nation of rules and laws. We are a county of rules and laws. And I think as a county commissioner, I can't just carte blanche disregard the ordinances, the rules, and the regulations that the Planning Commission has adhered to and has presented to us in the form of this analysis here. I believe, Mr. Chair, that even after listening to the varying positions, the rebuttals, the cross-examination, I believe what has been presented to us does constitute competent, substantial evidence to support the request of the church. That's my position based on what we as a commission have to adhere to. That's what the Planning Commission has to look at as far as their analysis. It's objective. It is not subjective. We here as the commissioners have to operate from an objective standpoint. And so based on that, I looked at the 6 criteria. I've studied those and compared those to what has been presented with the various maps, the various facts. And I believe, Mr. Chair, that the neighbors in the neighborhood have a right to be concerned about traffic impact and stormwater and environmental issues and the wetlands. But I believe based on the rules and the regulations that our planning commission adheres to, those specific issues will be addressed once there is a development application or once has been a site plan. So I believe it was proper, that it is proper, Attorney Meigs, for those issues to have been raised. However, I don't think it's proper at this stage, and I know that the Planning Commission did not look specifically at those issues. That clearly will be addressed once we get a development application or a site plan, and who knows, that might not come for years down the road, or it might be sooner. But when it comes, I can assure you that the county will make sure that all the issues you are concerned about, traffic, stormwater runoff, all of those issues will be addressed before license or approval is provided to move forward with a development. And that's the stage where you will be involved and where the Planning Commission will be involved to make sure we have got a planned development that meets all the specifications that you're concerned about and that we as a commission are concerned about. So the 6 criteria, Mr. Chair, the comprehensive plan, I believe that was properly addressed. I believe that the proposal is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. I believe the proposal is conformance with the land development regulations, conforms with the zoning surrounding those specific area being addressed. I believe the proposed zoning land use R2 is compatible with the surrounding land area. And I believe that in due time, if we have development application, that any consideration for the impact on the school education of the children will be properly addressed at that particular time, Mr. Chairperson. So I believe that competent, substantial evidence has been presented to this commission. I believe that the Planning Commission has been fair and impartial, and I can certainly assure you that as a member of this commission, I try to be fair, and I know I'm impartial, and I believe all the members of this commission address this and analyze this issue from a fair and impartial standpoint. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I hesitate because I didn't want to speak, but I feel like I have to. First thing I'll say is that I think one of the commissioners spoke about this being an emotional issue. I wish that a lot of these decisions that we can make up here were based off of emotion, but they're simply not. They're based off of what we can see, and especially in this case, what staff has presented to us as fact. And also what our county attorney is going to have to defend in the court of law if we are to be sued over the decision that we make. I think Mr. Meigs knows that no matter how this thing goes today, whether we vote for or against it, there is legal recourse to whatever decision that we make here today, and that our attorney will have to be able to defend that. When my vice chair was speaking, she spoke specifically about us being committed to addressing those issues that the neighbors have with this rezoning. And what bothered me is I heard a couple chuckles, as though this board would be disingenuous in their efforts to try to make sure that we address those things. And I just, it was disheartening a little bit, because I think we've been fair, and I think we'll continue to be fair. And no matter what happens in this decision, one way or the other, we're going to look out for each and every one of you. Specifically, my vice chair and myself as at-large commissioners, we don't get the privilege of just being tied to just one district and one district voting for us. The whole county has the opportunity to say whether or not we're doing a good job. And so we have a reason, we have a motivation to make sure that when we make decisions, we consider the whole county. But the thing I like about this board is it's not just your at-large commissioners. I think each one of these commissioners, when they make decisions, whether they're a district or not, consider each and every citizen within this county along with their districts when they're making their decisions. And so if there's any doubt there, I'm going to back up my vice chair and tell you that any concerns that we have in a way that can be addressed through a development plan will be protected as we move forward throughout this process, because we care very much about making sure that we try to preserve our neighborhoods as much as we can and try to make sure that we are doing everything we can right by our citizens, whether they agree with us or not. There was a comment made earlier that spoke specifically, Commissioner Proctor, about Section 8, and low-income families and housing. Would you believe it, Commissioner Proctor, that as a young kid, I was that kid in the Section 8 housing? Would you believe that my mom raised 4 kids by herself, worked 2 jobs, and barely made it for me to be able to sit up here and say that I made her proud? Would you believe that? I think that you can't judge a book by its cover. And I don't think a lot of you, maybe you didn't mean it that way, but when I heard it, I wondered to myself, the kid inside me wondered, would you all want me as a neighbor as a kid? Would you have one of Nick Maddox and his family stand next to you? Because I wouldn't want to stay next to you. We didn't have much, but to be able to see the way you all live and be able to have a vision of what it looked like to be prosperous, middle class, whatever you want to call it, would have been valuable for me as a kid. At 7 years old, watching my mom struggle. Lights off sometimes, so we played hide and seek in the house just to make it fun. Every kid who grows up in that situation isn't a bad kid. In most cases, they're just someone looking for an opportunity, or someone just like you all, just to come over and teach them a little something different. And it brought to light something I say all the time. I mean, the barriers within our community, they create perceptions of people that just are just not true. And given the fact that we're in here having a conversation around a piece of property that's owned by a church, I got to say, we got to get out of our silos. If you live on the north side, make it to the south side. If you live on the east, make it to the west. If you live in an affluent neighborhood, try one that's not quite like yours. And what you'll find is there's a bunch of kids out there that had the same potential I had as a young man that's looking, begging for opportunity to be seen as more than just trouble. I appreciate the decorum we had today. But just the assumptions and the perceptions, some of them just kind of threw me off, because the reason I do this job is for the kid that I had and the kid that I was and the mother that I had, to kind of give them a sense of representation, and to let you all know, if you didn't, that living next to Nick Maddox and his family ain't that bad. We're actually pretty good people. We may need to borrow a few things here and there. We may need your help on some stuff, you know. We may come ask for a cup of sugar, but all in all, and let me guess, and don't think you're going to get any sugar back, but all in all, man, if you take the time to get to know us, we're all right. We're all right. And so I'm going to support the original motion. I'm not going to support the substitute motion. It has nothing to do with any biases there. Nothing but the fact of, when I think about this, when I think about what my attorney is going to be able to defend most, I believe that she's going to be able to defend in the court of law what staff has shown as the 6 points that are boxes that's been checked. But what I will say is that there is legal recourse there for the neighbors who don't agree. And if the court see it a different way, we'll be right back here. We can have this conversation again. And so in that case, it may not be over. But one thing I do know that it's not over with is that this commission, and I believe your church neighbors, don't want to see your neighborhood torn up. We don't want to see, your quality of life go in the gutter or a place that you don't want it to be because of what happens here today. And we're going to do everything we can to protect that quality of life. Again, I appreciate the decorum we shared today, and I appreciate the conversation and the time we took to get through this issue. I mean, we weren't scheduled to be out here till probably about 10:30 if everybody had took their whole 3 minutes, but we're going to get out a little bit early. But this has been a great discussion. Any other discussion from commissioners? Seeing none, I call for the vote.
Mr. Chairman, do we get another round after?
Absolutely not. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. The substitute motion is option 2. Indicate by saying aye. All those opposed? No. Motion fails. Now we move to original motion of staff recommendation option 1. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Commissioner Pryor, if you have a comment, I'll give you opportunity.
I'm good, Chairman. I'll see y'all next time.
All right, we are. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pryor, don't leave me yet. I got one thing. We're done with that item. I do have a request for a proclamation. One proclamation on behalf of Multiple Sclerosis Month.
Chairman, I move it.
Any objection? Seeing none, short is passed. And the other motion in celebration of Hurricane Preparedness Week. Motion made and second. Any objection? Short is passed. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you. Good meeting. Thank you.
Chairman, good job.
We got through.